It's like 7:30. Give everybody a few minutes to meander in if you want to join me. Going to be finishing up a few smaller things this evening, and trying a neat little recycle, reuse craft idea. Hi, Gypsy. Give everybody just a minute to hop in and say howdy so I know you're here. I'm going to start with finishing up a thing or two, and then we're going to look at doing some other stuff. Hi, Pocahontas. Yeah, I feel better today. I basically have been in bed for 2 days. Well, since after that Sunday Live, I got really sick. And David got really sick too, so we thought it might have been a pizza I made, actually. And it could have been, but when I got sick, my pancreas decided to get in on it, and I was down for the count. And my doctor was like, well, just push fluids, don't eat, and go to bed. So that's what I did, because y'all know I hate the hospital, so going to the hospital is like not an option for me. So I stayed in the bed, and as long as I stay to where I can control how sick I am, like if I'm not throwing up as much, then I can normally get through the pancreas stuff at home because I've dealt with it for so long now. So I know kind of the parameters of my body, and I know when to go in and say, okay, it's time for y'all to help me. So I got through this one at home, but it was still not pleasant. It was not pleasant at all. So I've got some stuff here, and I've got some ideas, and I'm going to ask for y'all's feedback. Hey, what are you doing, Sabrina? I have been MIA, and I was starting to get sick, and I'd been kind of having more issues for a couple weeks, and I was like, man, is fall going to hit me this hard? It did. It hit me really hard, and I've had a really rough couple weeks. And my pancreas, I think, was just gearing up to get in on it. I think it just was jealous and felt left out because I'd been doing so well that it just, it had to try. Hi, music. It had to try to jump in there and get me too. It can't be left out of all the fun, can it? So, okay, I went ahead the other night and I actually lined the frame in sheet music too. So what I'm going to do is actually do a rendition of paint and water to look like a stain around the edge and around the inside edge and kind of antique it a little bit. And then I got this little ornament because I thought it'd be cute to cut the string off of and put in the middle. But the more I look at it, the more I realize that I got these little angel wings and this twig of flowers that may be better suited for this. So it may end up something like that. And I have little bottle brush trees if I want to do like little bottle brush trees in the bottom with a little bit of like fake snow around them glued in. But I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to go that far. But I really like the wings, and I kind of like them in here too. I'm not going to lie. I kind of like them in here too. And I can put them inside and do that down on the bottom. Or I could just do a rustic twine around it on the inside and do it at a corner and do rustic twine around the inside. But I really like the way that looks. You look at the inside. Do you like it straight or at a diagonal? I kind of like the diagonal, but I like the straight too. Corner, okay. I like the corner. Okay, that's what we'll do then. I've got to do the antiquing, and I've hit it with a sanding block a couple times, but I probably will go out and actually get my husband's little hand sander and around some edges to make it look a little bit more rustic. But I'm going to stain and paint that. So this is almost done. So this will belong with this, most likely then. We'll set those together. I have got such a mess in my kitchen where I'm halfway through about 5,000 crafts. So, and I've got stuff coming in, so I'm in stages. Now, this guy right here, goodness, Oscar, just telling a rhinoceros coming through the house. I think I may put the hope at top here with a bow and leave him kind of, and I'll glue it, but leave him kind of more plain, so that people can actually read the music. I've got it upside down. So people can actually read the music. So I think I may put him like right here and put a big honking bow right here to take up that much. I've got a sawtooth hanger to put on the back of it. And I think that's basically going to be all I do with it. I'm going to put a huge, giant red bow with 2 different sizes of red ribbon. I've got this big, wide red ribbon. I can talk. And I've got a smaller red. I've got a red stripe. But I've also got buffalo check, which may play well with the check that's inside of there. So it just depends on the mood that hits me. But I wanted to leave as much of the sheet music showing as possible. And I'm going to take it outside and hit with my husband's hand sander right through there so it shows the wood underneath the pages. So, because I hit it with a sanding block and it just wasn't enough to make me happy. I need to destroy it more. So I've got to do that. So we're at the final stages of a lot of this. I've just got to feel good enough to get out of the house and get to the shed to do a couple things. So I did this one, and I put an arched doorway in it. And, of course, you all know I've got to go out there and sand it to get the edges rough and stuff. But the dollar store had these cute freaking little wreaths to put at the top. And then you could wrap it with ribbon like a little present. It'd be so cute with a little bow. It'd be so cute. And it wouldn't be a lot. Put a sawtooth hanger on the back, and it's very simple, but really cute. And for people that kind of like the primitive minimum look, it would be really cute. So I got enough little wreaths to go on all of them, because by the time I pay $1, by the time I've wound, used florist wire and a 98-cent bundle at Walmart, heck, $1 for that. Now I did some with square doors as well, because I'm going to take, oh dang it, let me fill up my chair. I'm going to take twigs and do a little mock roof right here over this, and then fill it in with twigs right through there. Do a little mock roof with twigs, and then I'm going to put twigs up here too. David brought me in twigs because I've not been able to get outside. He's like, here, I brought you twigs. And then, work with me here. I could put this up at the top. It'll be under this roof. And then there'll be another twig roof down here under that, but a smaller one just over the music. And that will be more rustic and filled in a little bit more for people that like it a little bit gaudier, like me. I like gaudy things. So I've got quite a bit like in the 3/4 stage of being done. I've got both the kids' couples presents 70% done. I just got waylaid by my pancreas, and it was not pleasant. Also, David's generic GoPro came in. I've got it charging, so we shall see how that works. Crossing my fingers it works well. Oh, I missed. I'll pick it up in a minute. I got everybody's stuff in the mail except for Clara. Clara, your stuff is just a little behind because of my pancreas. So don't freak out, but it will get to you, but it's just running a little behind because of my darn pancreas. I've got just a couple things I needed to finish on it, and then I will get it to you. So the Chupacabra cat is in the mail, and all the Etsy orders are in the mail, and I've had to go to the post office actually twice this week. Well, I say me. David went the first time. I went today, but David drove me. Does that count? That counts, right? That totally counts. I just want credit for being up. I just want credit for being up in the living, the land of the living. Let's see. I'm saving, like, if these have got pages that are not falling out, that are some of my favorite songs, I'm saving them for my crafts. So I just passed up When We All Get to Heaven because that was one of my favorite songs to listen to. My bonus dad, Willie, sang in church. So totally going to use that on one of my crafts that I get to keep. So what I'm doing right now is I thought of something today, and I thought, well, let's try that and see if it will work. Because, you know, when you're laying there sick, you get kind of bored. I get really bored. I don't know about y'all. I get really bored. So I thought, you know, I got these cute little game bottles. And look what they're absolutely shaped just like. They're shaped almost just like a big fir tree, right? They just need some leaves on them. And I thought, well, I got 5,000 pieces of paper. Let's just cut some leaves. I mean, patience is not like one of my big things. But, you know, I figure every once in a while it's good to do something that makes you grow. So this is going to test me and hopefully make me more patient in the process. Oh, and if you're wanting the gnomes, we only have 4 gnomes left aside what is listed on Etsy. Somebody with no muffler down the road. And the road is like over there. So we only have like 4 gnomes left aside from what's listed on Etsy. So if you want a gnome, please go grab a gnome. I'm also going to be doing bigger gnomes that are going to be about that big around, that will be like half of a log that you can sit up. They are dried, so they're not super heavy, so they will ship decent. But these are going to be big beaver chew logs, like huge. David found some, and I said those would make awesome stand-up gnomes, big gnomes. So we're going to cut the bottom flat and use the beaver chew portion and make a really cute home decor item. So that's what we're going for. That's what I'm going for. That's what I think it's going to end up being, okay? It probably won't, but, you know, I'm going to try. So I'm not even going to cover this because everything I'm fixing to put on it is going to cover it. And I'll figure out what to do at the flat top in a moment because I'm thinking possibly I'm probably just going to put a big poofy bow up there anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I've got like 10 pages, well, probably not 10, probably 7 or 8 pages of the book, and I'm just going to start cutting out leaf shapes. And when I mean leaf shapes, I mean just, it looks like white-tailed deer tails. And just with a point at one end, just an oval, basically. I'm just going to cut this into all ovals. Probably make a huge mess in the process, but that's okay. That's how I roll. And that's going to be our leaves. So your leaves are going to be completely out of hymnal pages. And then you can dress it up with ribbon. You can dress it up with little tiny miniature ornaments. You can dress it up with anything, really. I had one lady that put jingle bells solely on one a few years ago that I saw done kind of like this. She had done it out of an antique storybook or looking thing. She had actually gone to the library and had them print out pages for her. And that turned out really cute. I thought it was adorable. And I was sitting there and I thought, I could do this. This would totally work. So that's what I decided that when I got up and moving that I was going to do today. For some reason, that's what registered with me. I don't know why. I've just had a day. So I'm even going to make some of the leaves shorter and fatter, some of the leaves more narrow because it's a tree. It's not supposed to be perfect. So I don't want it completely unison, but I am making a few bigger bundles to go near the bottom. And that is just so that we have a wider base of the tree at the bottom, and then it tapers up just like the bottle, but it's a little bit more accentuated when you make larger leaves to go around the bottom of the tree. So it's not a difficult thing. This is something you can make with your kids if they really enjoy using scissors. Hey, put them to work because this is not my favorite part of the whole thing. I could use a couple of 5 or 6 year olds to help me cut some crap out right now. Here in a few years, maybe I can get Ellie to do some scissor work for me. And then I won't be stuck doing all the hard work at craft time. I've got her first keepsake ornaments in. Also, when I'm sick, I order a lot of things that I shouldn't order. But you know something? It's how I get through my sickness. So, like my credit card company really loves when I get sick. But I've got her first year's keepsake ornaments in. They turned out so cute. I've already wrapped one. I didn't even think about getting a picture. Or did I? Did I send Kay? I might have sent Kaylee one. But I've already wrapped one, and the other one came in today, and I've got one more to go. And if I took a picture and showed them to Kaylee, I'll send it to the community site so y'all can see. They're terribly cute, just to acknowledge her first Christmas, and just as a little keepsake, you know, cute ornament, you know, for mom and dad to have. All of my tree basically is keepsake or gifted ornaments. And most of them, last year, Haley kind of took her pick off the tree because I said, here, you're going to have your own tree next year. Take what you want. And because I've got way too many, I didn't even put up maybe a third of my Christmas ornaments last year. And this year, I'm just doing a very strange little tree, which is going to be something I think y'all will enjoy when you see it. I'm going to be putting it up very soon because the gnome ornaments are going to take over my house if I don't have a tree to put them on. So we're going to be putting up my crazy Christmas tree very soon. And I'm going to put it over here behind me so that y'all can see it when I'm on live. And we're going to be hanging most of the ornaments that I make up there, at least examples of most of them and the fragile ones up there until they go to sale. Yeah, we do a special ornament every year too, music. And it kind of locks in your memory of that year. It's very nice. We can remember where we were when we bought it and what we were talking about. And most of the time we would go on trips and get them. Okay, now I am going to cut one more piece of paper out for the bottom because I do want to cover the bottom. So I'm going to cut one more hem out. And yes, there are some pages that are still in this book and some pages that are not. It's like got half the spine coming out. So sometimes I do end up cutting something and sometimes I don't. But we do one special ornament per year, and then the rest are made or gifted. And so we have a lot of homemade and gifted Christmas ornaments. And it's something that has been, super special. Yeah. I want to do, I've asked them to make me something with their feet prints on it for Christmas. I don't know if they will or not. That was like my one special Mimi request was like, do something with footprints on it. And I'm not being super like picky. I'm just gluing it to the bottom and curling up the sides because I'm fixing to cover all this up with my leaves. So this is not a precise project. If you've got something that you like, a craft book paper, a scrapbook paper that you like, you can make it out of that and put it on any bottle that you have. If you are very picky about the shape, you can crunch tinfoil and glue around here to make it to a point where it looks more like a tree. But like I said, I'm going to put a big honking bow, so I'm not super worried about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with putting a little bead of glue down here at the bottom. I'm going to go to my bigger leaves, and I'm going to put my bigger leaves, just attach them like this. I'm just going to lay them down in the glue and kind of let them overlap a little bit. They're not perfect. They're not supposed to be perfect. You can take a pencil later and curl them if you want your leaves to be a little curled. Some people like the look, some people don't. I don't care. If I make a tree, it kind of has to tell me what it wants to be. So if I look at it for a couple of days and think, oh, well, I should have curled those leaves, then I'll go back and curl the leaves. Otherwise, it's not really something I put a lot of energy toward. But this is something actually, if you do it and make it well, and you can make it out of felt squares, you can make it out of your favorite fabric, you can make it out of a favorite shirt that you ripped, or a pair of denim jeans that you no longer want, you can make a denim tree. If you have a styrofoam triangle, you can do one of those punch fabric trees like I do with the punch ornaments. Those turn out really, really cute. Denim, leave the edges alone and they will fray, and it will be a very cute, frayed, distressed denim tree. Be very cute. So there's my bottom round. And I probably will go back and turn these up a little bit, just because on my last couple I normally like to poof them a little bit, but it's not a necessary thing. So I'm just going to go and do another layer. This goes really quick if you're using smaller styrofoam cones, or if you're using a smaller bottle, it goes really quick. And it's really pretty. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect to be pretty. It's kind of the more homely it can be at times, the prettier it is. I like crafts like that. They make it easy to kind of put things in your home that you'll like. Let me tilt this where y'all can see what I'm doing. I'm not being particular in any way. I've got hot glue strings going all over the place, but I'm just slapping these puppies on there and pressing my thumb on the bead of hot glue so that they get a good stick. This is not anything that takes a genius to do, let me tell you, because I'm doing it. So, I want footprints of her and Che side by side on a plaque, because that would be adorable. Because I have a feeling that they are going to be a little trouble duo when they get older. I can just see them kind of looking at each other going, who's getting in trouble this time, kid? Me or you? I can see Che jumping in and being like right in the middle of everything with that child, because he is smitten with her. He loves her. He gets really concerned when she's crying. Like Kaylee had to go to the bathroom, and she's like, well, kid, I gotta go to the bathroom. You're just gonna cry for a minute. And Che came to the bathroom door and looked at Kaylee like, you left her crying. And then he was like, it's okay. And he went and he got one of his toys and brought it to Kaylee at the bathroom door like, I have a toy. Can I give it to her? He was so sweet. He is such a sweet dog. I don't think I've ever seen such a sweet, giant dog. He is 80 pounds of, but I love you. He is just such a I call him a little dirt, but he is so sweet. He's got such a good little heart on him. And I honestly did not think that Lane would find another special dog, because Moses was super special. Do you see how that's starting to look like a tree now down there at the bottom? Do you see that? Isn't that pretty? You could tea stain these. You could coffee stain these. You can mix water and paint after you get them on here and kind of splotch it around and make it look distressed and antiqued. You can do so many things with this, and you can do it with old children's book. If your kids had a children's book that they loved and it's beat up and it's missing pages, because we all know how kids read books, then you can turn it and get a dowel rod and a little wood round at Walmart, drill you a hole, put your dowel rod in there, get a styrofoam cone, make this, stick the cone on the dowel rod, glue it really good, put a star at the top, and give it to them as a Christmas keepsake gift that they can put out every year. And when they're having Christmas with their kids, go, look, this was my favorite storybook when I was your age. My mom turned it into a Christmas keepsake for me. So there's lots of things that you can do. Makes a really cute, cheap, inexpensive gift. So that, it's just one of those really sweet, personalized things. So if your grandma had a favorite hymn, you've got a hymnal like mine that's done, seen better days, go pull that hymn out, make this for your grandma. Let her know you did listen to her in church all those months when she was singing right next to you. You do know this is her favorite song, and you made this for her. Bet you $10 she'll be absolutely beside herself that you remembered and knew all that about her. That would actually be this is a really good like pastor's gift at church. If he has a favorite book of the Bible, you can go to the library or somewhere that will print pages out really cheap if you don't have a printer at home. And you can actually print out pages of the Bible and make them look antique all on Photoshop and print them out. And it's like 10 cents a copy at the library. It is at my library. And you could decorate a tree with actual, like a book of the Bible and not harm a Bible, because I wouldn't cut up a Bible for nothing. But you could print off the pages and turn it into that book of the Bible for your pastor. And that would be a really cute idea, because, most pastors do have a favorite book of the Bible, one that they really like to preach from quite a bit. Also, thinking of pastors, my dad had to go have shots in his hip today. He's having a lot of issues with his hips. His left hip, just like it's my left hip that's screwed up too. We have a lot of the similar issues. So he had to go get injections in his hip today. So if y'all don't care to toss up some prayers for him, because he says he's not screaming in pain when he sits down anymore. So he thinks it helped quite a bit. But I do know that those shots for your hips, they wear off. For me, they wore off super quick, and I never saw much satisfaction with them, so I just stopped getting them. I'm hoping that they work better for him, because he has not been feeling so good this last little bit, and I, with my health, have not been super mobile to go visit, so I've just been kind of stuck. I've been so immobile the last little bit that the only places I've gone is when David has driven me. My glasses are in. I got a call today. My glasses are in. David's going to pick them up tomorrow morning because he has to pick up Oscar's flea pill as well. So he's going to have a little errand day, and he's got to go have blood work done to check his Rocky Mountain spotted fever and his Lyme disease. So it's checkup time for Dave. So toss up some prayers for him as well. But yeah, we're just kind of, I guess we've had a rough life because all of us seem to have health issues, but that's just part of life. You just got to keep going. You just got to keep going. Now, these right here that are floofing up, you just kind of have to go back and make note and drop a little tab of glue and push them down. Every once in a while when you get up to curvatures of the tree or the bottle that you're working with, it'll do it. Now, if you have one of those styrofoam cones, it will not do that. But on a bottle that takes a different shape, they will pop up sometimes. You just have to go and just tag them down with a little pop of glue. Nothing major. I got glue all over me and the glue. I did watch the Darrell Brooks trial, and that irritated the crap out of me to see him so disrespectful, thinking that this was completely all about him and that he was the only one that stood any kind of detriment, that it was his life on the line when he was not even thinking about the people that he had victimized that day or killed. I was very upset with him. I was very upset with his behavior in the courtroom. I think the judge did a really great job of not allowing him to create the argument he wanted to create as a race or like a race-based issue with the hearing. So the judge, I think, did a really good job. But man, I tell you what, my judge would have. I was blessed to work under a really great judge, and he would not have tolerated that for 5 seconds. And but I think she handled it well because he was trying to turn it into a racial issue, and it didn't need to be a race issue. It needed to be a human heart issue, is what it needed to be. And I think because he chose to, he had a public defender, and the public defender chose to quit because of the animosity that he was being shown. And so after that, he had to defend himself because he chose to defend himself. He couldn't get another attorney, basically. And he did not. He was like, I don't want a public defender. Well, okay, but if you can't purchase your own and you have no assets, I don't know how you get to 40 with having no assets. But if you do, then you kind of have to have a public defender. Especially if you're in custody until the trial. So, but the public defender quit, and when they were trying to give him another public defender, he said, I just want to be my own attorney, so I want to represent myself. And they basically counseled him against that, but he chose to proceed. And I mean, what you going to do? The man chose to proceed with it. I think he figured out that it's harder than it looks, and that county jail lawyers will lie to you. So all those lawyers that are also incarcerated at the county jail that have been giving him insights and tips, I hope he realized just how notoriously wrong they were, and that he shouldn't have listened to them. But what can you do? You can't tell people what's good for them. Sometimes they just have to learn the hard way. And he learned, I think, the hard way today. He looked very emotional when they read out the verdict. And I don't feel the least bit sorry for him. He was respected during the procedure. He was treated better than most. And I don't think I've ever seen someone with such bad behavior stay in the courtroom as much as he did. So we just did not. Please sign it. Oh, Teresa, I've already mailed your stuff. But anything that I mail further, I will sign, and I will actually put in a special signature one for you on the next go round, because I know. Bless your heart, you've been such a blessing to us. You become part of the family. You and Denise and Gypsy and y'all. Matter of fact, I'm wearing a pair of pants that Gypsy gave me right now. They fit real good. y'all have just become family to us. Y'all have been this whole YouTube has been a huge blessing, and I know that YouTube is not normally a blessing for most people. It's normally a struggle and an emotional tirade, and you run into really horrible people. But I think I've been super lucky, and I found a little family unit here, and I'm tickled to death that I found y'all, because this last year I've had, between the change in insurance and a lot of issues, I don't know if I would have made it as well without having this platform to vent and having people that cared to come and say, how you doing today? Because, you know, that means a lot when you are homebound. It means an awful lot when you're homebound. Okay, now I got my tree done here, and what you want to do is just want to go and start to fluff the different layers. And if you rip one, don't worry, you can glue another in its place. So don't be like, super tense about this or timid. Just go in there and start puffing little suckers up. Nobody would ever guess by the time you get it done that it's a game bottle. And to be quite honest, they'd probably respect you for making it out of one. So I just run my finger. If I have a popsicle stick, sometimes I'll use a popsicle stick because my fingers are fat, but you just kind of need to run up under each layer and puff them. And the more you handle it, the better it looks, oddly enough. The more you handle it, the better it looks. So I just kind of take my fingers and puff. Now, if I find a tight layer, I kind of bend them up a little bit. And I might find a spot where I think I need to glue an extra one. And if you see a blank spot and you think it needs another leaf, stick another leaf in there. This is your tree. You can do whatever you want. I have got to take my big peacock quilt to the lady. I'm going to have her put a new back on it. And then I'll get it listed. Nobody in the family wanted it. I only have a couple of aunts that are really like super quilt collectors now. And both of them are about like being overrun with their own creations. So the peacock quilt that Haley says is too hot. It's too hot. It will be going on Etsy. It is bigger than a king. It's huge. I made it to drape over her little queen bed ginormously because I did not want a dust ruffle to get sucked into my vacuum. So it will be on Etsy here in a couple of weeks. And my quilt lady says she's going to have everything done all at once for me. So, because I told her I was getting anxious. I wanted to get Jamie's quilt to her in the mail. So that's my next thing, is getting that one mailed out. And we're going to be taking some skin and fur samples for Denise's granddaughter for her criminal justice class. Look at that. Is that not cute? Now, I'm not done with it, obviously, but is that not cute? Okay, and y'all remember those dried pieces of wood that when I went to the Dollar Tree, I said they must spray you with crack when you walk in, because even though I'm married to a lumberjack, I felt obligated to buy a stupid tree? Yeah, that's me. I went to the Dollar Tree, and even though I'm married to a man that can cut wood, and my son that knocks trees down, I felt obligated somehow to buy dried wood. I think that they douse you with something when you go through the Dollar Tree doors, and you just become stupid. I've got a big round one here. It's a forensic class. There she goes. We're going to send those in. So David is actually going to pull all of those tomorrow morning or Friday morning and get them in the mail. He's got to go have blood work done tomorrow, so he's going to get some of them done tomorrow, and then the rest he'll get done. I'm running out of glue stick. The rest he will get done the next morning, and then I will mail them. I get creative on how to push glue out of my glue gun every once in a while. It's a wonder I haven't fried myself, most likely. Okay, I'm going to smash that around, make sure I've got a good hold. I use the really fat piece of wood, the biggest one. I've got a flat spot right there. I need a poof. This is what's important, to only put the glue at the top of the leaf, so when you poof, you actually have leaves. And if you do like a couple of these and you spray like fake snow or glitter on them, oh my God, they're adorable. So I'm not going to put any higher leaves, so I might do one more round. I'm thinking about putting just a ginormous bow on the top. that's where my brain is right now. Just a ginormous bow. Oh, my chicken's done. I just have to find a ribbon I want to use. And a glue stick. And let's spill everything while we're up here. I haven't crafted in a few days. And it seems like I struggle to find things. Let me turn off my chicken while before it goes crazy. Keeping David fed is like the hardest thing when I'm sick, because I can't eat when I'm sick because of my pancreas. So I don't even think about food. But big old boy working, long hours, boy needs food. So I have to get up and cook whether I want to or not. And he's been really good the last 2 days. He's been like, just rest. I'll go get something to eat. Don't worry about it. So he has been a sweetheart the last couple of days for me. Just cutting some ribbon right now. And I'm going to make maybe a 2-layered bow, maybe. We will see what it turns out to be. Oh, I added some cute bows, some gemstones to the chupacabra cap. Oh my gosh, it turned out so cute. I didn't take pictures. I was so excited to get it done and get it in the mail that I forgot to take pictures. So China, if you watch this, when you get your chupacabra cat, post some pictures. Send me a picture in a direct message on Instagram, and I will share it. But I put some red carnelian gemstones on him for her, for some good juju, and because that's what he wanted, and it matched him, and he just, that little jumper bead that I have fussed about, it jumped right every time I was working on that thing. It jumped toward it, so I was like, okay, you just want to be part of the cat. So I put it on the chupacabra cap, and I normally back cut, but I'm not going to back cut this time. I'm going to do this cut so that the bow blends. Because I want my bow to blend. And I'm going to take the little piece of bow that I cut off, and I'm going to glue it right to the top of my lid with tons of glue. This just helps create a foundation to glue everything else to. I just took that piece of cut ribbon and stuck to the top like that, because that creates a little grippy foundation for everything else to stick. Now I need, if at all possible, to put some twine around this. And I don't have any twine that I have started right in front of me. Because that would be too easy, wouldn't it? Yeah. That would be way too easy. I bought a lot of vintage ribbon off of eBay. And Lord, I had some flashbacks to childhood when I got that thing in. That, honest to gosh, it was just like, whoa. It took me back. I'm not lying. I did not think it would create such an emotional response in me. It absolutely did. And I was just like, wow, that's some strong memories right there. And of course, crafting has always been a big deal, because my mom and granny are seamstresses and always were making something. So crafts do hold a big place in my heart. But boy, I tell you what, when I got those packages in and I looked, I was just like, wow. It was a really big reminder of just how emotional crafts can be. Okay, let's see here. Clip that off a little bit. Gonna tie it on there. More glue. Y'all know how much I love glue. Now, because I'm going to just do one bow, this tree will have a front and a back. So if you just do one bow at the top, make sure you understand that your tree is going to have a front and a back, and pick carefully. So you want your prettiest side to be the front. And now if I wanted to make another bow, I could make it to where it could be turned around, but I like to do just one bow and have a definite front and a definite back. And I also like to put something at the top, but I may have to wait until I get my other crap in. I don't think I have a pine cone small enough, but here is my little tree, complete with little tree trunks so people peek under its skirt. It has tree trunks. See how cute that is? And you sit this on your table and you make a smaller one and a bigger one. And they're so cute. After you fluff it for a little while, it will stay fluffed. Some people do like to take a pencil and curl the leaves, and that's fine if you want to curl the leaves. I'm just going to fluff it and try to, the more you handle it, the more it kind of becomes its own little person. So actually, it's kind of, if you have kids that touch stuff, this is great for them, because if they mess it up, you just cut another leaf, put it on there. But the more they're handled, I think the better they look, to be quite honest. And once they get a couple years old and kind of where the paper isn't so stiff and just kind of does its own thing, I think that's when they get really pretty. I made my bow really poofy. You don't have to do that, but I like to do a little poof pot at the top so that the tree kind of takes its own little shape. These are cute. I'm probably going to make a couple to go with it. And when it's sat straight down, it's really pretty because the leaves kind of touch the ground. If you don't like that, you can trim it. I like them when they do that. So I'm going to make him a brother and sister, at least one more to go with him. But I'm going to try to find a smaller bottle to do that so that I can have different sizes. And if you had baby food jars, you can make super cute ones by just taking a baby food jar and putting like a couple cotton balls on the top of it to extend the size a couple times. And then you could just treat it like a little tiny tree and glue your leaves on. Hello, Barb. How you doing? I see you're talking. Oh, yeah. Boy, those memories when you're making stuff. I remember making the old like salt dough ornaments that turn hard as a brick of block. I remember all of that as a kid. I remember making clothespin Rudolphs. I mean, I remember all of it. It sticks with you. It stays with you. I did a lot of the same things with my kids. It sticks with them. And we're doing homemade Christmas again this year, so I enjoy what they bring me. I enjoy to see where the brain goes for when they're making stuff. So I enjoy the keepsakes more than I do anything that's store-bought. And it's just more special to me. So I like them. So if you have a cute little rustic home, this is a great craft. You can coffee or tea dye these as well, and they turn out just as cute. If you don't have bows, get an old piece of fabric, cut you a star, and sew it together. Do 2 stars and sew them together, make it look like a primitive star, and then leave the bottom open and just slide it over the cap, and you have a star topper to your tree that flows down into the tree. You can basically make these any way you want. If you've got dowel rods, you can run a dowel rod up and make the bottom skinnier and put them in a wood round, which is a really cute idea if you need taller ones. I like short ones. I like to put them on shelves. So that's probably what I'm going to do. And I may take a couple to sell at this upcoming event, but I'll probably put them on the dowel rods and make them a little bit more spiffy rather than put them on a bottle. But, you know, I think they're adorable. Great small gift idea. Great craft idea with your family. Great way to spend a couple hours in the evening. Obviously, anything you do with kids is going to take 3 times as long, but it's still a great craft to do with your kids. And if you would prefer to make them all fabric, you can cut squares of fabric and do the punches into the styrofoam cones and make a fabric punch tray as well. I'm going to also be making some rag quilt trees, but we're going to be doing that another night. This is my let's get back to working and doing stuff again without completely going bananas and throwing my body back into flare and my pancreas back into flare. So this was my quiet evening to do something terribly easy and terribly cute. So this is what I came up with. This is what I wanted to do. Oh, Barb, I keep all my quilts. I need to take my Nanny Clara quilt down and show you how ratty that thing is. And as much as I know I need to have it patched, I honestly just don't have the heart, because every time I look at how ratty it is, I know how much I've curled up in that and found solace from the world in that quilt. So I know I need to have it patched, but I really don't want to, because it just means so much. All the wear and tear on it. It's just told me how long it's been with me and how much I love it. So I'm at that crossroads. Like, it's on one of my quilt racks in my bedroom, and I put it there because I had to stop using it because I was going to tear it up. And I'm like, man, I need to get it patched, but I don't want to. So I'm there at that moment with that quilt right now, and I know I'm going to have to do it. I know I'm going to. It's going to be difficult for me to do. I also got some great little jewelry cone bead holders that I'm going to be putting over some of the teeth that I make earrings with. So expect some new jewelry options as soon as I get to where I can have a craft day. I've got these beautiful little silver bead cones, and they're going to be cute over some of the smaller teeth, but oh my gosh, let me show you what they look like over a canine. Is that not pretty? Is that not adorable? And they put a shepherd's hook on it at the top. I mean, a jump ring and a shepherd's hook in this, and I think they're so cute. They are so cute. I've got my jewelry glue ordered, but it really does showcase the tooth without kind of overpowering it, but it gives it a pretty display instead of a rustic display. I like the rustic ones too, but I like these really pretty cones. I'm really tickled with. I had to order them from a different country, and they took forever to come in. So then when they come in, I'm like, oh yeah, I ordered that. I do that a lot. I get an idea when I see them, and then I order it, and then I forget I ordered it because it took so long to come in. Oh, Teresa, I probably shouldn't. I probably should start signing stuff. I always find it weird because people do ask me to sign stuff. I just find it weird to sign things because I'm like, you want my name on things. But if from now moving forward, if y'all order something from David's Etsy store and you want it signed, let us know, and I'll make it happen. Oh, you still have your Care Bear blanket. That's so sweet, music. That is so sweet. I may make a couple on. I'm thinking about. Okay, I've got the big Quaker oat jugs. We eat a lot of oats in this house because David's diet requires it. And I'm thinking about taking those Quaker oat jugs and cutting a dart in the sides and pinching them and making big trees that I can stake a large beaver chewed stick through, and I can wrap it with leaves, fabric or paper or whatever I decide to do. Wrap it and drill a hole in a dowel and stick that end in a dowel and have instead of not a dowel, the beaver chew stick. Instead of having a dowel, have that beaver chew stick rustic and making them like that to sell. I thought that would be cute. But because we're traveling so far to this next sale, I say I'm going to try to go one day if my body will hack it. Lane's going to go the second day because I know I won't be able to do 2 days, especially the way I feel right now. But I'm thinking about making a couple of those to sell because I thought that would be cute and kind of stick with our rustic theme. I've also thought about doing little tiny ones out of little patches of fur and doing like a multicolor fur patch Christmas tree, which is totally something I would have in my home. I would just have to do small ones so that I could use the scraps and not waste a large amount of fur. So if I could do that and use the scraps and therefore use more than we normally would be able to, that would be a great way to use those smaller scraps and make a little furry Christmas tree. And it would look like a patchwork Christmas tree because all the fur is different colors. I thought that would be a really cute way to do that. So I may make one of those. I've got to talk to David about what he's willing to allow me to have and what items he's tanned that some of them didn't tan as great as he wanted to and that I can use. So it depends on how much salvage that I can get from him to see if I can make one. I really want to make one. Gotta make a giant one if I could, but I'm gonna have to keep it to smaller ones so that I don't waste fur because that is something that is not tolerated in this house. We do not waste anything. So I have to be able to use the extras. So, but that's what I created this evening. So I hope that some of y'all try this and do it with one of your kids' favorite storybooks that is almost destroyed. Do it with, you can take special documents. You can go up and have copies made and make it out of special documents. So if you've got an adoption contract with someone and make an adoption Christmas tree and celebrate their adoption day and make it a Christmas item. I had a friend that took her 30-page divorce document up to the library and had to make like 10, 12 copies of it. And she turned it into a paper shred wreath. And then she sprayed polyurethane over it. Every year she'd polyurethane it, Mod Podge it. She'd hit different spots that were weakened every year. She had that thing for 10 years. And she said she got so much happy from looking at her divorce agreement. And she said, because that was such a beautiful document to her, she said, I got so much pleasure looking at that beautiful thing that I created from my beautiful new escape into the world. And she had that thing for like a decade. And I mean, she loved that thing. I don't know if she still has it. I haven't talked to her in a while, but I thought that was very creative and probably very empowering for her, to be quite honest. So I put my divorce documents, they're put away, but and the adoption stuff, it's all put away. So I haven't really ever read through them. I let the kids, when they got old enough, I asked if they wanted to read through them, and I left them out for like a couple weeks. And so if they wanted to read them, they could, and then we put them back up. We just don't keep them out. But I did give the kids the option to read. So that would be cute, especially if it's, a truly super special moment that y'all share, make one out of that. So this gets really interesting really quick depending on what you want to make it out of. I saw one that was made out of feathers the other day, and I thought, well, I'm running low on feathers right now. I think Gypsy brought me another bag the other day, so I'm doing better than I was. But I'm not about to make a feather one right now because I don't have enough feathers to justify making a full feather tree. But that would be beautiful. So if you have chickens and you have the extra feathers, make a feather tree. It was very pretty. It's just, you have to kind of blend your colors as you go up, but it was very pretty. I thought it was very cute. So that's where I am tonight. That's what I wanted to complete. I wanted to get on here and let you know I was still doing okay. I am still very tired, very weak. And I've made David's dinner and snack. And I'm going to put it away. And I'm going to try to start eating more tomorrow so I can get my energy back up so that we can go back to normal plans and normal momentum here, because I've got a lot to get done. But I did, at least, even though I felt like crap yesterday, I did paint some stuff and get some stuff prepped. And David ran me around to the dollar store and the post office today. So I got some stuff accomplished today. It just wore me out. I love old paper. I love any kind of old, what do they call it? Ephemera. I love old paper. I love historical documents. I love weird, quirky ads from old magazines. I love all that stuff. I'm if that's being weird, I'm weird too. Oh, that's neat. They did the folded book pages. That's neat. I've seen that several times. I've often wondered if I needed to try to do that. I don't know if I have the patience for that. Maybe when I get my glasses in. Yeah, you can feel the difference. Yeah, you can feel the difference in paper. Like, there are hymnals that have the thicker paper that would probably be better suited for this, that really thick paper. And if I could find an old hymnal that was falling apart in the thrift store, I would buy it in a heartbeat to make a bunch, like paper wreaths and paper trees, and you could use them all year round. But they're hard to find now because they use this new slick stuff on everything. And they have since like the late 70s. So if I ever find one of those really old hymnals that's falling apart at a thrift shop, I will buy it. I've done a couple of glances on eBay, but they try to sell the nicer ones on eBay so they get more money. But if I ever find one at a junk store or a thrift shop, I'm getting it. And I'm going to make some of these trees because I love that old paper, that thick old paper. I love old paper. And I don't know, it's just to know that you're sitting there holding something that someone has held for, 60, 80 years and loved, and, they've sat there and they've spent time with this item. And you just kind of think, this piece of paper that shouldn't have lasted has lasted through, more years than I will. And I don't know, it takes me to a different place mentally, emotionally. I really enjoy paper. Yeah, I don't know if I could do that. I've looked at those several times and been like, that is so cute. I need to try that. And then I'm like, let's try that on a day I have more patience. And yeah, patience is not my great. Like, if I get really invested in something, I can sit and do. But if it's something that I have to like pay such finite attention to, because I normally have 11 different things going on, I will get frustrated and I will stop. So it has to be a repetitive task that I can sit and watch something and repeatedly do. Oh yeah, music. There's no soul to anything that we make anymore. It's all quickly made. It's given no thought. It's given. They don't struggle to create it. There's no fashioning of anything. It's just reproduction, and stamp them out and put them out. There's no energy behind it that is positive that you can link up with. And yeah, so I feel the same way. That's how I feel too. You just can't bond with something that doesn't have like its own little story, and things that start out as a block of something that's melted down, molded, and spit out. It doesn't have the feeling of something that was crafted, back when paper was made, and it was made the old way, and it was a valuable thing because that's how everyone got information, was through paper. And so it was a valuable document that people put their time toward. No, it's where when my pancreas enzymes get bad, I get blisters in my mouth, and I have a blister over here. And if you see me doing that, I have a blister. So when my pancreas gets really bad and the enzymes get really out of whack, and they were for about probably a day. It was a really quick, short attack, but it sure beat me up. I get blisters in my mouth from the acidity. And so I got a blister over here, and it's driving me nuts. So that's, if you see me doing that, that's what I'm doing. It's killing me. They did go away in a couple of days. As soon as the acidity levels go back down and my body gets a little bit more alkaline, I'll be okay. But pancreas is a dangerous organ because it can kill you super quick. So I have to be super careful. And I guess I'm lucky because I've gotten to know how my body reacts to my enzyme levels so much that I kind of know where I'm floating. I can go in the ER and I can tell them I'm probably around here, and they'll be like, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "Yeah, I told you." So I'm very in tune, but I had not had any kind of pancreas issues in quite a while. And it got me quick, and it was a very hard attack, a very quick attack, but it was a doozy. So yeah, a lot of the acid in your gut can cause mouth sores, and if your enzyme levels and the acidity gets too high, it will bubble back up and cause mouth sores. So I have a lot of medicines to keep the acid down while I'm going through attacks, and to make sure that my ammonia and my ammonia and other things don't get too high while I'm struggling to process whatever's left in my system, because I have to stop eating and just push fluids. That's why I get so weak and white. So I don't have a lot of the energy I normally have right now, but give me a couple days, I'll eat, I'll feel better. But yeah, the acid will come back up. And so I'm constantly brushing and using mouthwash to keep it down. But it was such a hard, quick attack this time that it got me. And so I've got a blister over here, and it's killing me. But it will go away. And it went over there because when I sleep, I was normally on this side, and that's where it settled. And that's what got me. Yeah, lots of times if you have a lot of acid reflux, you probably need to have your pancreas checked. I'm not a doctor, and this is not advice. I've just realized that through my struggles with my pancreas and all the things that I've dealt with, I can almost tell when I'm starting to have issues, because I will get a lot of, I will get extremely belchy, which is abnormal for me, and I will get very acid, very kind of feeling full all the time, even though I've not ate. And that's that acid not composting and working correctly, and everything backing up in your system. So if you have a lot of acid reflux, that's one of the things that made me aware that something was going on. And then that's what I remember being the most troublesome before my really first horrible pancreas, like my pancreatic attack. So the first time I had pancreatitis, I had 3 or 4 days of horrible heartburn and just acid reflux, and just almost felt like my stomach was soured. and did not know what was going on, got super sick, and then could not stop vomiting. And pretty soon, even though you're empty, you're still vomiting up stuff. And it's just bile and acids, and it's like hair foam because it mixes with air. It gets so nasty when it comes out. And I had to go to the ER because I could not stop vomiting. And they were like, your pancreas is like, it's about shot. And because of the nerve impulses that the neuromuscular disorder sends, sometimes it will send the wrong impulses to some of my organs in my gut. And that's when my pancreas kind of be like, peace out. Like if it gets jolted with the wrong kind of nerve impulse, or I have a really bad flare, my pancreas will go, oh, I'm done. And then we have to like, no, you're not. You need to wake back up, And so it's been the serious part of all of this, because your pancreas can kill you so quickly. And so that's why when I am hospitalized with a flare, 9 times out of 10, it's because it's affected my guts and my pancreas. And I went into a pancreatitis flare. And because I have so many issues with the nerve impulses, my pancreas is like the boy who cried wolf. It doesn't work anymore. So it looks bad all the time. So the doctors never know really, really is bad. They just have to wait for me to get really sick, but I can feel it coming. And so I have to go in and have it tested. But my enzymes always are off because it doesn't function correctly anymore. But they normally see my history and they watch me super closely and throw me in. If I'm throwing up at all, they throw me in the hospital. And but I pay a lot of attention to what I eat, how I feel, how my stomach's handling things. But I have what they call burned out pancreas. And it's where the enzyme levels have been off so long that the enzyme levels will never be correct again. And so we just have to keep a close eye and make sure that they're staying within a range that's safe. And I've been doing really well. And this was a complete surprise because I've lost like 45, 50 pounds, probably close to 50, 55 by now. Yeah. And I've lost quite a bit of weight and I was doing so much better. And then boom, but it was just a couple day attack. So, normally I'm in the hospital for 8 days, 6 to 8 days max. And that's normally the longest I stay. But normally the attack lasts, 10 to 12. So this was a really short attack. But it hit me hard, but my body bounced back pretty good. I have Barrett's esophagus too, so they have to go in every couple of years and stretch my esophagus. Which could be like they say, could possibly be a previous indicator of cancer, but like almost everybody in my family has Barrett's esophagus. So, so I have swallowing issues sometimes anyway. Yeah, you need to ask them, ask your doctor about that. Say, hey, I've noticed that lots of people have acid reflux eventually have to have their pancreas tested. Is that something we need to do a blood work on? And they have to send it off because it's only done in like special labs, but it's like a 3-day turnaround and they'll know if you're having problems. Now, if you're having immediate issues, I would say go get checked out and they can do an immediate in the hospital in the lab. But if I'm doing okay, they just send mine off in about 3 days. We know if I'm holding. Yeah, but that esophagus thing will get you because you don't remember it until it occurs, and then you're like, oh, and then you literally feel like you're choking on your food. So it's a strange feeling. It's a strange sensation. I've gotten used to that over the years too. So, but that is just, I think a lot of people have that, and I think many just aren't aware of what it is. But if you have a lot of difficulty swallowing certain foods or certain items, and it comes and goes, my esophagus likes to constrict. And so the muscles don't always work correctly, which none of my muscles in my body work correctly. So I guess we should have figured that one out too. But they have to go in every couple of years and put an expansion thing in there and stretch it for me so that it doesn't keep constricting. And I'm due for it to be done again. I'm just lazy and haven't wanted to do it. I used to have a surgeon when we had the hospital up here. I used to have a surgeon that could do it local, so I didn't have to travel. They could do it up here at the hospital, and I was home in an hour. And now it requires like a 4-hour round trip drive, and it's just a pain in the butt. We need a hospital here again so bad. Oh my goodness, Denise. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Barb, I have to keep my body. It's a very fine line I tread. So that's why I do really well sometimes for a few weeks, and then my body, when it has a moment, it has a very dramatic moment and ends up miss me for a few days because I get really sick really quick, don't know what's coming, I'm down, and then I have to bounce back. And I don't mind bouncing back, but I have to be very careful because if I overdo it on my few days where I'm climbing out of the hole where I felt bad, I will overdo it and I'll be back where I started. So I have to be super careful. So I'm fixing to go lay down here in a minute and rest some more, but I have to be super careful. It's the biggest reason why the doctors didn't want me working, because I would try to go back to work too soon after hospitalizations and I'd end up sick again. And they're like, you can't do this. Any stress on your body just immediately tries to shut my body down. And they're like, you can't keep doing this. You cannot keep, driving. I was driving 3 hours round trip a day on top of the work. And I was sometimes working 14 hours and, plus 3 hours driving, plus trying to take care of a family and, getting the kids were in college and getting started in their own worlds at that time. That was stressful, and it was that was a rough few years. So I'm doing better because I'm home and I can focus on my health, and I can take days and just shut down and deal with me and focus on me, and that's great. But man, I miss being out and about, and I miss having contact with people, and I miss the social interaction. And it was very difficult for me to learn how to stay home because I am a social person. So it was a huge transition, and I think the quiet at home has been great for my health in a ton of ways. But I needed this outlet. So this has been great for me, but I still try to get together with my close friends, and have true physical contact with friends because that's necessary as well. I just don't get to do it as often as I'd like. Yeah, it takes your life away because you have to start to focus on such stupid things that shouldn't matter, that should be an afterthought, which they are for most people. And you start to focus on, what did I eat for breakfast? How's my stomach been the last 3 days? Can I manage a 2-hour car ride round trip if I want to go have dinner with the family? And it's just like, what's the pros and cons of this? What am I going to have to, if I do this, then for 3 days I'll be down. And do I want to spend 3 days down in order to do that? It's just constantly I'm weighing things out and wondering, okay, if I get there and I get bad, who can get me home? How can I get home? What's a secondary way I can find a way home without causing someone else to miss something that they wanted to participate in? It's just constantly worried about how I'm going to be handled if I, legs stop working, if I have a flare, if I get sick. It's constantly just worried. And so being home has alleviated a lot of that, but there's still a lot of things that I want to do that I can't do because, I can't go so far from home, and I don't have the energy. And if I tax my body, I will go into flare. It's just, it's a lifestyle I wouldn't wish on anyone. Oh, Barb, I let mine lapse 1 year too. It was the year I was really, really sick. And I missed it by like 4 days. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I was in the hospital. I was like, what do I need to do? Do I need to take the test again? They were like, no. They were like, just come in. We'll take a new picture. I was like, okay, thank you. They were really sweet about it. So they just let me go in and take a new picture. I just had to physically go in and request it, and they had to take a picture there. You can renew them by mail now, but they were like, just come in. We'll physically see you, let you take a picture, and it'll be fine. I was like, thank you. I was like, I'm so sorry. They were like, it's not a problem. So they were really sweet about it, but I let mine lapse too. It was the last time I had to have it done. That was during that really bad, like 2.5, 3 years I had. And I was in the hospital literally every 6 weeks. Oh my gosh. It's bad. I spent more time in the hospital than at home. I have more pictures of David with me in the hospital than I have of David and me at home. And like 4 times that year, they were like, it's not looking good, Elizabeth. Your acid levels and your enzyme levels are not correct, and your ammonia levels keep going sky high. It's not looking good. I got told it was not looking good and I needed to prepare myself. And I thought, dude, I deal with this every day. I am prepared. I was like, I'm prepared. So, but I've been told that a lot. And I have gotten to where I push my family to do stuff, and I make deals with them. And so I push them to go and do stuff, even if they don't want to do it without me. I push them to go and do it, but they have to like send me like one picture every hour so that I can live vicariously, or they have to video call so I can jump in at odd times. And And if I'm doing really well for a number of weeks and I feel brave enough to take a trip, I want to take trips. I want to go places. David loves to go to the Smoky Mountains, and he really wants to go to the Smokies and do an overnight trip, which is terribly difficult for me with my body with the RSD. Because he got a mattress topper. Like we got a mattress topper, and because he needed one, and it made me feel like I'd been in a car accident. So imagine what sleeping in a whole hotel or a different bed feels like for me. It hurts so bad. It makes me feel like I've been in a fender bender and I hurt for days. But he loves to do this stuff, and so I want to go and do for him. And we got really lucky last year and took a spring trip with the kids, and we all rented a cabin. And that bed had a bed that was just as high as ours, and I think had the same freaking mattress. And I was not sore. I came home not sore. I slept fine. And I was like, can we rent that cabin? I was like, if we can rent that cabin, I'll go back. But yeah, we've thought about taking a trip if my health will hold. And then I had this bobble. But this was, I think, because David got sick too after that pizza. And so we think the pizza was just not good for us. Like it's supposed to be a healthy chicken, something other on flatbread. I was actually excited about it. It didn't taste bad. I was not like super stoked about the vinaigrette sauce they used on it, but that's okay. And I enjoyed it, but I wasn't like, I was like, well, I'm not really going to buy this again, but it wasn't that bad. David gets sick, and then I get sick. So we figured it was probably the pizza that started us both getting sick, but then my pancreas went, oh, while you're down. And so my pancreas had to get in on it just because that's what my pancreas does. I'm here to tell you, Barb, my mom has got one of those granny's lift chair, and that you can put it back and tilt your lumbar support, do the neck, do the arms. I can go down there in my mother's living room and stretch out all the way on that big chair because it's got so many automated controls. I can get it just right for me, and I will sleep better in that chair than I will in a bed. So every time I go spend the night with Mom, I end up in that chair. I might start out in the bed downstairs, but I will always end up in the chair because I try to split the night with her and stay close to Granny to hear her so she can sleep deeper. And so I always end up in the chair, and I sleep better in that chair than I do in beds. So it's funny. We had to change our diet a lot too. So that's why I got a flatbread thin crust, and I got like a vegetable thick pizza. It was more like a salad on flatbread is what it was. And I was really excited about it, but it did not like us, and we're not buying it again. David got sick. I got sick. And then I think while I was sick, I was probably just close enough where I kind of been overdoing it the last few weeks. Y'all have seen me. I've been doing more and asking more, and I think it backfired. But while I got sick, while I was down for the count, my pancreas went, hey, while we're down here, let me just act up for a few minutes. So it got its little spell out maybe, and maybe I'll feel better for a while now. But I hadn't had a pancreas attack in quite a while. So I had been doing really well. I've lost a lot of weight. I'm still a big old burly woman, but I've lost a lot of weight. I'm going to be starting a medicine in January to lose more weight. My doctor's lining all that up. Because I'm just trying to alleviate more stress on my knees because my knees are bone on bone. Yeah, boy, I did the blandest of bland diets for 3 years. And then I had to slowly start trying to see what was too spicy, too heavy, and so I learned a very restrictive diet and lost a lot of weight really quick, and then it kind of stopped. And we have tweaked a few things the last few months, and I've started losing a little bit more again each month, just a little bit, but it's going the right way again instead of stopping. But my doctor was like, we've got to get more off. And he's like, because, you're mostly immobile beyond, where I'm comfortable. Like I'm comfortable. I know my porch steps. I know where I can go in my yard. I have paths I can take. But when I get beyond my comfort zone, it's difficult because I don't know the slope of the ground. I don't know how my shoes will respond to certain types of ground. And I have to be super careful where I step and what I do, and that I don't overdo. And like I'll go somewhere and I'll run out of steps for the day, and my legs will just stop working. And that's when rolling me back to the vehicle gets kind of annoying. So I don't do like big trips for that reason. we tend to stay closer to home. But David does love the Smokies, and I've been there so much. I'm comfortable with what we like to do in the Smokies. So we know the cabins that are easier for us to get to. We always make sure we have a handicap accessible one in case I have to use my cart. We know the roads where we're more comfortable. We know the roads that have the cabins with the parking spots right beside them instead of once you have to walk up and go across a bridge. And yeah, we don't do those. We like to go to Cades Cove and drive the loop. So I'm good there. I can drive the loop all day long. I just can't do a lot of hikes. So if David chooses to hike somewhere, he normally will go. We normally will laugh around and pal up with somebody else driving the loop that day, and he will go and walk with them, and I'll just sit in the vehicle and wait. Do we have a troll? Mr. Burgle's going to cry about it. No, I don't cry about much, but I used to supervise murderers, and I used to make them cry often. Do you want to play? I play. If you really want to see somebody cry, we can talk for 5 minutes. You can go look in a mirror. I love trolls. They're so funny. They're so funny. Trolls are like a big indicator psychologically of the emotional health in your nation, and the U.S. should take note because while we may not be like the proprietor of the troll base, we are attacked predominantly by trolls worldwide. Why? Because most people in the U.S. are emotionally not stable and don't have a foundation that controls themselves emotionally. They are very hyper focused on emotions, so they get very timid and very emotional and very crybaby very quickly. And I think that's why people like to attack people in America. They think that, oh, they're big crybabies. But no, I'm not a big crybaby. But I mean, if you want to play, we'll play. But I have health issues, and yeah, I've just come out of a few day slump. But you know, and it's just, you know, it's like, what happened in your world to make you so abhorrent today? Like, did you wake up and say, I'm going to be a complete gnarly piece of crap and try to ruin everyone's life? Because if you did, you need some huge counseling, because that's not healthy for you or anyone else that you bump into. But the big thing is the time that you expend on others doing negative things, it blackens your heart and soul. It turns you into something that you cannot recognize. And so when I see people that do that and jump in, I'm like, what are they going through that this makes them feel better? Because this should not be a highlight of your day. Picking on people should not be a highlight of your day. So I want to know what's going on in your world that this is the happy spot, because now I'm worried more about you. You know, so I know that, you know, you're attacking me because you're needing to deflect or distract yourself from something going heinously wrong in your world, and you can't handle it. You can't negotiate with it. You don't know how to communicate that, and you feel alone and left out and forlorn and over in the corner crying. And so your reaction is to act like a bully and ask anybody else if they want to cry, when really you need to go sit down and have a good cry and a good talk with yourself, and maybe call someone that you think loves you enough to communicate about what's going on in your world. Because I've got mine nailed down. I'm good. Got it. Yeah. I know I look really passive tonight because I'm really pale and weak from where I've been sick for a few days, but I'm still snarky. But, you know, this is what a human being in pain looks like. Anyone that bullies people, it's a defense mechanism. Anyone that is a bully, they do have an inferiority complex. They have an ego issue, and they feel less than. So they go out to minimize everyone else. They think they can feel more than. That's not how it works. And so anyone that you see trying to belittle someone or hurt somebody, it's a defense mechanism. They're actually really hurting, and it takes a while for them to figure out what's hurting. So if you're having a bad evening and you'd like to talk through it, you found a good place, I'll talk to you. I'm a retired counselor. I'm a retired parole officer. I'll talk you through it. But if you just want to be a dick, you can go get in somebody else's box, because you ain't going to be in mine. So that's just kind of how I feel about that. But people do. I think people pick on the U.S. because they know right now, emotionally, the U.S. is not a stable nation. Oh, Barbie, thank you. I think people pick on the U.S. because they know emotionally the U.S. is not a stable nation, and that we have a lot of people that are not capable of thinking beyond their nose beyond their own emotions, beyond their own thoughts, beyond their own filters. And they've limited their sight so drastically that they can't see anyone else's parameters in this world. And when you really shrink your world that much, you become a very self-centered, egotistical, angry person. But you also become a very cute plaything for people that know you're struggling. So we're just a ball of yarn, and the rest of the world are cats. That's the U.S. right now. We are the ball of yarn. And the quicker we figure that out, the better we'll be, because that's what's going on right now. They're taking like emotional hostages because we forgot that the rest of the world exists and that we're not that important. And that's a great checkup every day. When my kids used to get really hateful with me and they wanted sympathy, I'd be like, well, okay, in the minute 39 that you've been whining, like 4 kids in Ethiopia have died from famine. So I don't feel sorry for you right now. And I'd always put it into perspective for them. Like, you're whining because you didn't get to stop and get Taco Bell after softball practice. Okay, there have been 4 kids die in Ethiopia from starvation. Pick a better foundation to argue on. I'll listen to you if you're going to argue about something that matters. So my kids figured out a long time ago, it's just not worth it to argue with mom. So, well, every once in a while we have one that actually engages and talks back. And I've had a couple that have worked through some stuff and then become like longtime viewers. And so I don't mind if you're having an issue and you're here and you're lashing out because you're angry or hurt, or you don't know what's going on, or you're just trying to distract yourself from something bad that's going on in your world. Talk to me about it. That's how we're supposed to use each other. We are herd animals. That's how we're supposed to use each other. We're supposed to be each other's buffer. But, if you're not in a place to talk about it, then I'm just going to tell you, until you get in a place to talk about it, life's not going to be a good place. So hopefully whoever that was will sit down and think about what they're doing, and they'll either pick a better target next time, or they'll actually sit down and deal with what they're handling so that nobody else around them has to handle it. It's so great because when we take care of our own crap, nobody else has to step in it. And that creates really good friendships and really positive foundations to explore society upon. But when you lay your crap down for everybody else to have to step through and wade through to get to know you, you don't get a lot of friends. You don't get a lot of support. And it hurts. But it hurts because you've got a moat of poop around you and people don't want to deal with it. It's like, be very aware of what you ask people to wade through to get to you. Because you're either going to limit your friendship, you're going to run them away, you're going to tax them to death where they're not going to want to put any energy towards you, or you're just going to shun everybody because it's asking too much. So I like to get to know people, and I know that you don't meet everybody on the best of days, but I'm okay with that, and I can work through that. And, I used to supervise violent offenders for the state, and I used to meet them on bad days. But I could always find a place of compassion to build a foundation of respect, so that we could have a good work relationship and get them through whatever they were dealing with, whatever got them on paper in the first place, and get them to a better place where they had a positive, productive life. That's what I really enjoy doing. But it takes some honest talk. And honestly, counseling and therapy is not always about you and about your feelings. It's about, hey, something, you're also creating a ripple effect in society around you, and you need to be aware of that. Because part of being a productive member of society is understanding how you interject your energy into society. And a lot of people don't think about that. They just think society is in relation to them, but society is a back and forth energy exchange. So it's everything. And a lot of people don't know that. So they think they go out and the society should kowtow to them and what they need that day. But the thing is it's a barter system when you step out that door with your energy and who you come into contact with and how you exchange your energy for whatever they're going through. And you get to choose, but you also get to choose what you give back to them. You get to choose what you take, but you also get to choose what you give. But in the choices come the type of day you're going to have, the type of friendships you're going to make, the type of trust bonds you're going to create or break. It's a very big barter system, and you have to be very aware of what you're walking into, because whatever exchanges emotionally and energetically you make that day, you will have to bank on tomorrow emotionally. And so you better be planting some positive seeds, because when whatever you've sowed starts to bear fruit, you may pick some sour stuff. and it might be a little bitter. You might be eating crow for a few days. So a lot of people don't understand that. They think when I walk out the door, it's everyone in relationship to me. No, you become part of, the cog, the working machine, and it's a energetic casserole potluck. Second way to describe it. Yeah, whatever you bring, you may also be taking home, and it may not taste good if you have to eat it yourself. So people just need to be more aware, So I don't really take offense to people being buttholes. I'm just like, what are you going through? Can I help you? And if not, I'm not the target. You picked a bad target. I'm not a target. So hopefully they will sit and think about what they're doing on the internet and be more responsible. If there's someone that's young, perhaps they will go to a trusted adult and have a conversation they need to have. And if they're struggling tonight, maybe they will call a helpline and get someone to speak with them about the help they need. Hurt animals. People always, they think adults, they're like, well, we're human beings. We're special. We're not special. We're just animals. We're just animals. We're just animals. We were all created. We got a little special sprinkle from the good Lord, but we're still just one of his creations. And we got lucky because we got the little dash of made in his image. That's all we got above the animals, but we're still very much animals, and we're still very much people that find security in numbers, securities in community, and we rely on each other emotionally. And if you can tell, the last few years, as they've separated the glue of communities, you can see the communities start to fall apart because we do rely on each other. We do need that interaction. We do need that tight-knit familial feeling to our smaller communities and our smaller trust circles. And without it, everything starts to break down. So we don't have a lot of kids that are raised in tight-knit families. Well, now we've destroyed the tight-knit communities. And guess what? The cities are not tight-knit. So we're losing the basis of community in our entire nation. And if you feel isolated or stand alone from everyone, like when I go to the city, I'm very aware of everyone around me, but I'm also very aware that nobody wants to interact. I won't make them interact. I talk, but they don't like it. So they're very, they like their space, which is very odd to me, because if you're from a small town or you're from a tight-knit family, you've learned that space is where bad things can grow. So you don't like space. You like to be close to people, especially when you care about them. You want to know how their day is, talk to them, help out, and have vice versa, have that back. So the people in the city have gone through life so invested in themselves that they're very standalone, very cold, callous sometimes. And I'm like, ooh, that's not nice. And it worked when there was a balance. And so you had the city that was more, apart, standalone, and they had the very tight-knit communities that were holding down kind of the heart of this nation. Well, the last 3 years, they have surgically manipulated those apart, and we have no tight-knit foundations anymore. They created a fear about fellow man, a fear, about these coronavirus. Well, if you read books and you understand any kind of Latin, and you can look at any veterinary medicine manuals, you can see that coronavirus has been around for as long as we've known what to call it. And that, yes, they get out of hand, but they've always been around. So this newfound fear was almost like, well, why weren't you scared about it last year? Because these things existed last year. Oh, you didn't know about them. Oh, so you're only fear what you know. Well, who told you? Who told you about that? Oh, the media. So where did you get your information from? The CD? Oh, the media, the news. So if you turn off your TV, would you be in this hyper-fixated emotional fear state? No, probably not. You would probably read some books, look in some medical journals, talk to your doctor, and probably quell your fears. But it's all about how you get your information. And, when you isolate and you stop the spread of communal flow of information, and you get to control where it comes from, you control knowledge. And so a lot of people only got one outlet of knowledge about that happened a few years ago. and where these tight-knit people were all doing their own research but sharing with everybody. So they had a wealth of knowledge. Well, that got torn apart in the last few years. So we still have some people that are trying to keep that tight-knit foundation there, but it got pretty much destroyed. And the best thing you can do is do your own research, talk to at least 5 other people that have researched the same thing, share everything you know, think about everything they said, don't throw it away, put it in the back of your brain, and just build on that foundation of knowledge and weigh out things for yourself rather than swallow what is funneled towards you and what is controlled. But they don't understand that. And so when you try to talk to people in the cities, they like back up and they're like, why are you trying to interact with me? Because it's healthy to interact. It's healthy to say hello, brighten somebody's day. I don't know, because right now when I have to visit the city for certain specialist appointments and certain events, I feel that it is turned into almost a war zone. There's so much happening in the cities that when I'm there now, I'm super hyper alert, which I always am anyway because of my old job, but I'm even more so now because with that space that they finally created in the tight-knit communities, we know it also had to space out the people in the cities 3 times as much as they were already. They've become cold, callous, and calculating toward their neighbors now in the city. You see a lot more crime. You see a lot more assaults going on. You see a lot more aggravated assaults. You see a lot more people, the murder rate is up in every big city. And it's stupid, like pushing people on subway tracks. Why? Beating somebody. It was a man that beat a woman up in the subway the other day. And there's one guy that came to her rescue, and then he chased her off. He chased him off, and the guy wouldn't come back to help her. And then he went back and started beating her again. And the green mob that went on the subway. Who gets up and says, today I'm going to put on green suits with my friends and go smack people around? Crazy people, that's who. People that do not understand the social structure that they are actively attacking and the importance that it has for our safety, our sanity, and the importance that it has for our generational security, for our kids to grow up and know that there is an underlying safe place for them in these cities. I think they've completely ruined the cities. They've completely ruined the cities. The few people that are good souls are probably moving out as we speak. The cities have fallen. And it's, if you see the space that has been put between people in the last 3 years, it's not a coincidence. It didn't just happen because we are herd animals. We should not desire this. This should not be a normal thing. This is not a normal capacity to walk away from each other, to abhor people based on a virus that they could have been packing for, that they've come in contact with, over years and years and years of life. They just finally gave it a new name, amped it up a little, and told you to be scared. But I grew up working on farms, and so coronaviruses were things that I saw that were growing and mutating every year because we had to vaccinate animals against it because they traveled so quickly in our herd animals. So when they started screaming that at me, I was like, okay, but those have been around decades, generations. Like, we're very well versed in these. So if we're very well versed in these, why we're not prepared to fight it, but also why is it acting like a amplification of the virus? So I had questions. And everyone in the city that I had friendships with was like, well, you don't know anything. And I was like, listen, it's always worse than they make it sound. I think they're trying to scare us. Just chill out for a little while and we'll get the shakedown eventually. Well, now we're getting the shakedown. And, the CDC's come out and said a bunch of stuff and everybody's like, holy crap. And I'm like, who told you that from the get-go? Hello? It's like, hello. So, oh yeah, don't even, our potato and chief. It frustrates me. And sometimes I think he's not as stupid as he acts. I think he just acts stupid because he's going to plead insanity if they come after him with any charges that they're going after Hunter with, if they actually go after Hunter. 300 and like close to 400 different charges that they can apply to Hunter based on the information found on that laptop and his gun application that he did and other stuff. I don't know if they're ever going to formally charge him or go after him. But you bet your sweet Bippy that Biden's going to use his behavior as a president to get him out of the loophole. Bet your sweet Bippy. And if he is truly incapacitated, then Jill and whoever else is on his team needs elder abuse charges against them. Because this should not be what we do with our elders that are dementia-ridden and addle-brained, bless their hearts. You should take care of them. You should not hold them up and put marionette strings on them and get your way and try to take over the greatest nation in the world and bury it. It's just stupid. It's absolutely stupid. But people ask me what we saw in Afghanistan, what we saw in 2020, and I said that was in 2020 and 2021. What you saw was the biggest transaction that ever took place between countries. You saw a power transaction. And I fully believe that we as a nation were sold. With about, $80 billion worth of army equipment. We lost mineral rights to one of the most mineral-rich countries in the world. Lost all of that equipment in Afghanistan, all those people. And now we have police states in America that are Chinese police forces here in America to monitor their own civilians in America. No, I'm sorry, that's America's job when they're in America. If we have a problem with them, we will deport them back to you. We will extradite. But we have foreign police powers on our nation's soil that violates our Constitution. But it's come to fruition since he took office. Excuse me. Why are they here? Why do we have a heavy United Nations and a heavy Chinese police force presence in our nation? Why is it allowed? I really feel that was like a big transaction. It was a power transaction. Because I looked at my husband the day that what happened in Afghanistan happened, and I said that was payment. I said that was payment for what he got. And I said, we are no longer a free nation. And my husband said, oh, you're crazy. And then my husband started seeing UN places pop up all over the eastern seaboard. He goes, oh, crap. And then he started seeing the stories about China implementing police forces in our country. He goes, why do they have police forces in our country? I said, because we are no longer a sovereign nation. Nobody's told us yet. So, yeah, well, when you have that cow that stops producing as much milk, you pimp her out and, before you send her to slaughter and take every piece of meat off her bone. And I think America's pretty much hanging in the slaughterhouse getting picked right now. That's kind of where I think we are as Americans. We're hanging in the slaughterhouse getting every piece of meat picked off our bones before they ditch us and before we're worthless. That's kind of where we are right now. It's sad. That's one of them little pissing contests. Music. It's a bunch of men with a bunch of big egos having a pissing contest. But I also think that there's been some really dirty stuff go down in Ukraine. And I think Ukraine has been kind of like the laundromat of the world for a long, long time. And it's benefited their government. It's benefited our government. It certainly hasn't benefited the people. People are starting to pick up on that. So what's the best way to shut down any kind of education and intolerance toward officials that are trying to basically overrun your nation? War. Make everybody so scared they can't focus on anything else. And then when life gets back to normal, they'll just feel so happy to not be under the strain of war, they'll shut up and not fuss about anything. Fuss, people. Fuss. Even when you're scared, fuss. Because when you stop fussing, that, lots of times that's the only power we have as people of a nation is to create a fuss. I think it's just a piss and ping pong game. It's all in a pissing contest, and I think they keep that area of the world in an uproar because it benefits everyone who funnels money through it. They funnel money and people through there, and it benefits everyone to keep it in an uproar because if they're crazy fighting, then they're not quietly having conversations to spread awareness. Oh, it does. That's been a dirty piggy bank for the U.S. for a long, long time. If you ask me, that's my opinion on that. It's been a dirty piggy bank for the U.S. for a long, long time. Long time. And that's why we don't know what's going on. And every time we get to where we think we're going to get an idea of what's going on, they create an uproar. And oh, now it's war, whoa, and no. Where's all that money going? It sure ain't helping nobody. It ain't rebuilding crap. It ain't feeding nobody. Where's it going? Guarantee you 70% of it come right back and went in somebody's pocket over here in the U.S. You just got to figure out who it is. I mean, our Congress people are worth 180 something million to $119 million on a less than $200,000 a year salary. Now, I may not be the smartest tater in the patch, but I can do math. That don't add up. We've got billionaires not paying taxes, but they're chasing people like you and me that make pennies. Why are they not paying taxes? Why are they held in such a seat of power that they're not following the nation's rules that they're supposed to legally follow and actually create, but they're not doing either of those things? Why not? Because they're above us. They're trying to create that whole kingdom and serf, with no middle class anymore, so that we're below them so far we can never rise to power. And that's why I say the only power you have is your mouth. Use it. Talk about it. Talk about it. Tell them you're not happy about it. Be a problem. Be a burr under the saddle blanket of your government. It's the best thing you can do. Just get right in there and just push back. Oh, yeah, the whole world is connected. Oh, yeah, because there are certain continents and countries that protect their citizens more, like through food and not allowing certain dyes and ingredients and stuff like that. But then those nations may protect the food and stuff like that more, but then they may actually turn a blind eye to a lot of abuse or violence or human trafficking. It's all a balance. And I think it's a balance in certain areas so that these people can have powers to do certain things in certain places. And they get shuffled. It's like switching the cup, put the ping pong ball in the cup and tell me where the ball is now. That's what they do, with what each country benefits and offers the world and its leaders. That's what they do. So one year it may be this area offering this, and they move it over here in a few years, and they keep shuffling it so we don't catch on. But we've caught on. And so now they're just trying to keep us in such a, hysterical state that we can't communicate effectively and talk about it, that everybody thinks everybody's insane. But what's insane? Somebody making $200K a year being worth $119 million. I mean, you do the math. Can't you? I mean, no matter how many pennies you have in a jar, you cannot make that work. It's just like that doesn't happen. You cannot create that wealth from that amount of money, with the cost of living, so they're being treated like royalty. Their salaries are pennies on the dollar compared to what they're making from lobbyists and corporations and people that want certain laws created that will benefit their business or their country in some way. And so our politicians no longer portray our desires, but they portray the desires of the wealthy across the world. And then countries have come to the U.S. to make their money. And then a lot of the money leaves the U.S. now. And so we've started to become a poorer nation because it's going into other places. But it's also because our politicians have not made sure that we benefit from those deals because they're benefiting, so they don't care if anyone else benefits. But it should be our nation first. And our politicians they're not taking care of the citizens anymore. They don't think about anyone but themselves and their own checkbook. So, and that's pretty much how I feel about that. I by the time anyone gets to that elevated power status, they're crooked as a dog's hind leg. I don't trust anyone that claims to be a politician or has been a long-term politician, because if you can stay in stank that long, you get comfortable with it. If you get comfortable with it, then you start acting like it. Even if it's behind closed doors and you think you're pulling the wool over everybody's face. If you sit in the stank that long, it sticks. So they're, if they've been there that long, they're not any better than anybody else. So they probably would not enjoy a conversation with me at all. It'd probably make them very mad. So that's kind of how I, if you want to see the failing in America, just watch the Darrell Brooks trial. He grew up with no respect for his nation, no respect for his community, no respect for anybody but himself. He was stuck on himself. Everything in his life has been about him, what he needs, what he feels, what he wants, what he desires, and what he thinks is justice to everyone else. He's never had to look at the world from anyone else's perspective. And yeah, justice was served today. He got, he's not going to see daylight for a long, long time. But he did not look at the world from anyone else's perspective. And he was so stuck on himself that it carried him to such a dark place in his dark heart that he could justify hurting others just to flee from the cops. Not even knowing, he had just been in custody a couple weeks before. He should have known if he had a warrant on him, if he, but to just see cops and to go crazy, spastic, and to kill people to justify running when you don't know why you're running. That's a guy that has never thought about anyone else in the world, ever. It's all about him. Spatial awareness, he never learned it. Social proximity doesn't exist. And that's what we're raising in this nation. We're raising people that can't see beyond the edge of their nose, that are they look at the world as an interpretation via their perspective, and they don't understand that everyone else has a perspective. And we're creating very nasty little human beings. And it's just getting worse, And then you got to look at the chemicals and crap they're pumping into us now and how that augments the body and how they're I think they're really learning to hijack us emotionally, mentally. The body is basically a circuit board. It's an energetic circuit board. If you can hack software, you can hack the body because the body is basically a giant supercomputer. So they've done enough stuff and changed enough of our food recipes, enough of the energetic components that we're close to, a lot of the radio waves and frequency waves that are in the world around us. We all know that they use infrasound as a weapon anyway in war. That's, people used to not believe me about that until they started talking about it a couple of years ago being used that one time against the government employees. And now people believe me about stuff like that. And it's just like, if you would read beyond the first page of any book, you might learn something. Just read, absorb everything via osmosis. And if you find yourself worried about your perspective, or if you find yourself worrying about things in relation to you too much, make yourself step outside of that and look at the world from other people's perspective. Learn something different. If you're having trouble composting an idea about how certain people live, then delve into their culture and learn about it so that you can at least respect from where they're coming from. If you can't respect the person, you can respect the culture. We don't do that anymore. People are just stuck on themselves. And it's just like, my God, look, this is what we're breeding in America. And it's because everyone has been reduced to an orphan by their own desire, because they want to be unique and stand out and be alone. But then when you become an island, you cut yourself off from all the avenues of aid. And you become this dark, self-obsessed, egotistical, narcissistic person. And then you start to devalue the lives of everyone but you. And that's the downfall of every society that we've ever seen in history. That's how it starts. And it started in the U.S. We're on the slip and slide. Somebody freshly greased it. We're going down fast. So that's just where my brain has been the last little bit. But yeah, that trial was very enlightening, and it should show you how disrespectful our younger generations are to our nation. And we're a nation of laws, and they're disrespectful to a nation of laws. And they're trying to take us from a nation of laws to a nation of emotional recompense. No. That just means whoever's packing a bigger stick that day gets to make the rules. I didn't sign up for that. No, thank you. So it's, I have pretty logical, down to earth family. So, but I have, I had some friends. I lost friends over this whole last few years, and I wish a lot of them would call me and be like, "Yeah, Liz, sorry, you were right. Yeah, I was, wasn't I? Gee, the little hick had a better perspective of life, because we get to see the manipulation because we're far away from it. You don't, because you're right in it. Pay attention to these little hicks, because we know what manipulation looks and feels like." Appalachia is sorely terrified of the government because this is here where they try to create the welfare state, and they try to take away the pride and the backbone of hardworking families, and say they're going to substitute their salaries only to make them basically wards of the government that relied on the tit of the government to survive. And they basically became prisoners of the government. And if they didn't heal the government's every demand, you didn't eat. Your family didn't eat. Oh, if you want to work in that mine, sorry, we're going to close it down. Now you must heal. And, I grew up with a lot of people tell me these stories about how they created the welfare state to strip away the culture and the pride from Appalachia. And I fully agree with them. And so people in Appalachia, when the government says we're here to help, we go, oh, no, it didn't help last time. You just walk on away. And I think a lot of people in the larger cities are figuring that out now. Our government has not been about the citizens for a long time. It's been about power. Now, the people should be the power, but we're not. Money's the power now. And funny enough, money's fixing to be what fails them. So, it all comes around in the end. Them kiss your butt curves in life, or they get everybody eventually. So it's a bad scenario for our nation to be in. Horrible scenario for the people. I worry about the next couple of generations, but I bet you here in a couple of generations, we have some hard people that are going to make a decent world. But it'll just cycle again. It'll cycle again because as circumstances change, then it creates a change within the emotional complexity of the human brain. And so easier times make easier, softer people, and harder times make harder people. And it just keeps cycling. But this is the cycle. We're in the downfall of this nation, and many of us probably will never see it rebuilt. I don't know what it's going to become. I hope it becomes better, but it may not even exist anymore. Who knows? It's like that kid on TikTok that is day 62 of being a girl. I have no animosity toward anybody that has any dysphoria, valid dysphoria, because I've handled people in counseling that have dysphoria. But dysphoria is not about looking at the complex issues of a complete, 51% of the world and narrowing it down to calling people Barbie pouches. And trying to say, like he said on TikTok yesterday, like normalize. He's like, I went to the store and I wore this outfit. And I was like, okay, it's a cute outfit. A for effort. And then I realized everyone was staring at my crotch. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. You were fixated on the area of your body. So you thought perceptually everyone staring at you was staring at your crotch. Guarantee you no one was staring at your crotch. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. Understand your bias. Understand that because you felt an inadequacy there, you thought everybody else thought too. Understand that as you projecting. Understand that as you creating a scenario so that you create the response to it so that you can control the reaction to it. It's you. No, nobody's looking at your crotch. He's like, and then I realized that some women's crotches don't look like this. And I thought, what does that mean? And he was like, and I realized that my crotch does not look like most women's on most days. Your crotch doesn't look like a woman's on any days because it has additional things there. So scratch that, start again. A better way to say that would be I'm feeling, emotionally vulnerable because I'm aware that while I look and feel like a girl, I have this one inadequacy. Therefore, I think everyone else sees that one inadequacy. And because I think everyone sees it, I'm going to talk about it to try to make it go away. But I'm not making it go away. What I'm making go away is you having anything to say about me. Because if I can tell you I feel inferior, you can't pick on me anymore because then I am a minority. Let's play the victim. Just make yourself more of a victim. That's really going to help. It's like, And so the last thing he said was normalize women having a bulge. No, women have bulges. There are all shapes and sizes of women, and some women are made in odd ways. Women have fat in weird places. No one's looking at your crotch. What you're asking is to normalize male genitalia on someone dressed as a female. Not everyone can go for that. But also, that's not anything that 95% of the people around you at a supermarket, at a social event, at a community event is thinking. Not on anyone's brain. Maybe 5%, and that's giving a lot of leeway. So why is it the only thing that this young man can talk about? Because it's his biggest inadequacy. It's his biggest concern. To him, in his mind, it's his biggest flaw. Just because he doesn't love himself, he thinks that everyone else doesn't love him. Just because he is hyperfixated on this area of his body, everyone else is hyperfixated on the area of their body. Women do this with moles, scars, fat, don't we? Women, we do this all the time. What I have an issue with is that this young man who's trying to normalize bulges on women and having a huge leeway in the young teens and in the preteens, teens, and young adults is swaying them to think only about their inadequacies and how their inadequacies affect them. We don't focus on the worst things about ourselves, which is what they're trying to get all these generations to do. We focus on our most powerful assets. You focus on what makes you you. You focus on the things that you feel good about. Because if you breed generations fixated on what is so negative about them, then they're going to grow up hating themselves. If they grow up hating themselves, they're going to look to others to lead them, out of the quagmire that is their life. And then they're constantly followers. You have no leaders anymore. You have followers. We're being turned into followers, and they're using confusion and social influencers who are confused themselves to create it even more so. Because people that are, the people that I worked for that had gender dysphoria would never have paraded around and behaved like this man. I still keep in touch with some, and they're as shocked when they watch his stuff, and they're like, literally, it's like he's playing an SNL skit. They're like, I went through all this work on me, to become somebody that can blend and have a productive life and not focus on just this part of my life, but focus on being a productive adult in society, and I'm just in there. And they said, now, we've got people that are making money by standing up and saying, but look at me. I don't fit in. And if you tell me I don't fit in, then I have, due course against you, to sue you in any way possible. But I can stand up and talk about what's wrong with me all day long. And if you try to tell me to show my self-love or to stop objectifying myself or to have a deep talk with myself and tell me your strengths, not your weaknesses, then you hate me. You hate me and you're a horrible person. No, honey. No, honey. They're trying to put you on a better path, because you should never focus on what you think are your weaknesses. You should always lead with your powers, lead with your positives. Do not minimize yourself to a Barbie pouch or high-heeled hiking, or he makes these stupid little childlike mental relationships to his body, which is so profoundly absurd and inappropriate for an adult to have that type of relationship with their body that way. And it's creating a very toxic manifestation in people younger than him, because they think, oh, well, if I think I have any confusion, then I have to act like him. No, you don't. You don't have to have confusion. You don't have to act like him. You do not have to follow anyone's protocol to handle it. You just need to handle it your way. And you need to lead with your strengths. And when you see a weakness, deal with it. Learn from it. Talk it through with friends and family. Go to therapy. But do not go to TikTok and think you're going to find some kind of guru, some kind of he's not a 108-year-old monk that's lived a devout life and can tell you about the trials and hardships. No, he's a flagrant, theatrical, albeit very sweet, but very wrongly directioned young man emotionally. Because all he does is focus on what he thinks everybody else is focused on. You can't go through life like that. You just got to deal with crap and move on. You can't turn everything into a 3-minute TikTok. You can't. That's not healthy. And I would feel horrible if I sat down and every problem I had, I turned into a 3-minute TikTok and needed somebody to fill me up substantially. Put comments down there, make me feel better about myself. You know, but what he should actually be thinking is, how is this going to affect people younger than me? Because they're going to see it. They're on those platforms. That should be your first thought. And how is this going to impact someone who does not agree with my stance? And is there a better way I can handle this to create communication rather than to shut down communication? It's like, hey, oh no, he's saying that he's not going through surgery, but he's saying he's still a woman, and that woman can have bulges. And it's like, we don't even know what women are anymore. Like we've liberated ourselves, women, to where we're erased from the earth. We don't exist. You know, we liberate ourselves clean out of existence. Who would have thunk it? But it's kind of crazy now, because anyone can be a woman, but there's nobody jumping to be a man, really. Have you seen the transition rates? Have you seen the transition rates? I did. I used to have to work with them within a therapeutic community guideline. The transition rates are all toward female. Do you want to know why? Because they think female have some kind of blessed experience in this world that we get away with more, because they say we're emotionally unfounded. We're emotionally flighty. We need special kid gloves. No, that's not actually being a woman. Being a woman is being a tough freaking woman. We're tough from pine knots. We're the one that bring into the world the next generation, raise the next generation, half the time educate the next generation. And yeah, we've been reduced, to where we don't do what we need to do. We've been liberated from actually creating the next sound generation of people in this world. All we did was say, oh, we don't need to be at home creating the next great generation. We don't need to be at home raising the little people that came from our bodies. Oh, no, you need to be at work and let your government raise your kids. Well, that worked out right. I mean, have you seen the stats? In the last 60 years, the government's been raising your children in daycares and subsidized daycares and community babysitting and after-school programs, and murder rates, suicide rates, mental health issues skyrocket. It's not working. So why are we keeping on thinking that this was the right path? Put a parent back in the home. How about you subsidize parenting again? How about, instead of paying these millions and billions and trillions of dollars out to these daycare plans, how about you just give an allotment to a parent to stay home? You will see the world start to take shape again. Because when you have to sit there and stare at your child who has been turned into an asshole from sterilized daycare, and no one can punish them, no one can tell them they're wrong, no one can educate them, they get to have whatever emotional outbursts they want to have, nobody can correct them, everybody's too scared to correct them, you have to be careful about how you hug them. Men that work in the field have to put their hands up when they're being hugged, or someone will say, you shouldn't have patted that kid on the back when he hugged you. We become such a crazed lunatic nation. And so we're supposed to raise kids without physically interacting with them, because if we see somebody physically interacting with the kid, we think the wrong thing. And therefore, we think that that's the only thing that can be occurring. If you ever thought the mindset of people, I mean, look at how toxic they've made our mindsets. So kids are kind of like thrown away, and there's a barrier. And so they're raised in these sterile environments where you can't hug me. No, I'm sorry. I know you're crying. I know you've had a really bad day, but I can't hug you. It's against the rules. Well, they're not in the home to get a hug. And then when they do go home, mom and dad's still working at home. They come home from the job, bring work home with them. They're still working. They're not getting a good meal. They're not getting interaction. They're not getting help with their homework. They're not getting their needs met. And they grow up very sterile, very aloof, very removed, isolated mentally, emotionally, and physically. And we wonder why our kids are having all these problems. We basically paid with our tax dollars for our government to turn our children in to isolated and imbalanced people, because they removed the human component, removed any kind of retribution for bad behavior, and certainly do not amplify education. And we paid for it. We funded it all. We funded our own demise. It's like paying somebody to kick you in the face. Makes a lot of sense, don't it? So we need parents in the home. We need communities that care. And we need appropriate interaction with children so they learn how to physically, emotionally handle themselves in society. Oh, yeah, they tricked women years ago. Women were like, I don't want to be seen as a sexual object, so I'm going to liberate myself. when they liberate themselves. Well, I'm going to go pose in Playboy so they can be seen as a sexual object. Really? Really? Well, now I get paid $1.2 million. Okay, yeah, but what does your soul cost? Because that's what you just sold. How much was that worth? So it doesn't make sense in my mind, you know. It doesn't make sense in my mind. Yeah, how's that liberation? Just because you think it's freedom doesn't mean it's freedom. It just means that they changed the way you think. We changed nothing about how women operate in the world. We just changed people's perception of how women operate in the world. That's it. That's all we did. You know, women are a huge core component of our society. And when we removed their compassion from the home base to the work base, we screwed the family over. When you screw the family over, you screw the communities over, you screw the whole emotional herd animal mentality over, and then you create a whole society of individuals that don't like to interact and start to get callous, cold-hearted, and egotistical, and boom, we're here. That's how we got here. I mean, that was the Cliff Note version. That's how we got here. Oh yeah. Like I used to take all those kids from the Wilderness Boot Camp, and when they would get a home visit, I would drive them to the airport. And I don't care if they didn't want a hug. I hugged them, and they would often look forward to that hug because they had no physical interaction. And they would say, "Chief Liz, why are you hugging us?" Because I'm fixing to put you in a tin can in the sky. And I don't care if you hate me. I'm hugging you. Because I'm worried. I want you to get home safely, and I'm giving you a hug, so hug me, you know. And many of them look forward to Home Pass weekends because they got to have a conversation with me, someone that can engage them in a different way of thought that wasn't always detrimental, wasn't always look at the negative. And then they got to go to a place and walk through an airport, not be treated like a prisoner. I didn't treat them like prisoners. I treat them like I treat my own kids. And they would get a hug. And they knew in that time that I spent with them that I cared about them, that I was concerned about them, and that I genuinely wanted them to enjoy their Home Pass, focus on how they interacted with their family, create positive memories while there, and if they had problems, to write them down and bring back the list of things we needed to work on. And that's what I prepped them with every time I sent them home. But I hugged their dorm before I put them on a plane. Because if, you know something, if any of those kids had ever crashed, I was the last person that could hug them. What if I had not taken that opportunity? I would have felt horrible. That the last thing they didn't get from somebody else was a hug. I would have felt horrible. So I hugged them, whether they wanted a hug or not. I hugged them. I was like, if you want to cause me grief, you can cause me grief. I'm hugging your butt because I'm putting you on a tin can in the sky. Oh, he walked to the class. Oh. Yeah, music. They wanted people to be treated as decent human beings, and they thought this would empower women to be respected. And all it did was open mentally the door for women to approve behaviors that are more detrimental to them for financial reasons. You know, a lot of people say, oh, but, you know, people that work in the sex worker field, you know, they're good people. Well, yeah, they're good people, but why do they make the decision to go into that world? 70% of them end up getting assaulted or worse. I think it's 1 out of 4 end up removing themselves from the planet voluntarily. You know, I mean, that's not a healthy statistical reading. You know, so it can't be a healthy lifestyle. So why is it that when people equate women's freedom, they equate it with their ability to perform these actions and get payment? To me, that's not that's not about women's freedom at all. I think that women have way more power in marriage and in the marital home than we ever think we have out there being CEOs or anything. I think we have way more impact and power in the home. We're raising the next generation. My God, shape that generation. Do some work, honey. You know, educate them kids. Create a foundation of confident young women that are going to walk out into the world and know their worth, that they're not going to equate it with a dollar bill that the government says is worth money. No, your worth has to be intrinsic. It has to be within you. It can't be found in acts that you perform. So, a lot of women were taught to revere money over themselves. If you can make money, you're worth something. Nope, that's the government. A lot of people that have brought the most to the world never made enough to call it two squirrels. It takes two nickels to call up a squirrel. So a lot of people that had the most impact on the world had no money. But they certainly had a different way of thinking and a different view of how to treat people. Yeah, music, yeah. Yeah, and if you think that the people that created that movement weren't aware of what it would further generate, yeah, I think that a lot of that was on purpose. I think a lot of it was on purpose. So, and everyone should be leery of anyone in a power dynamic that has more power than you. When they say, I'm going to help you, you should be leery. Because then if you have to do something to get that aid, that's an inappropriate power dynamic. So whoever has the power should never ask for something back. So when the government said, oh, we're going to give you all this, but we want you to become a highly sexualized group that only offers this in the world or focuses on this, game over. That was the cost. That was the cost. And women still don't see that as the cost. And, there's some women that have been interviewed and they're very happy being in that outlet and in that work. Hey, if it suits you, that's great. But let's still look at the statistics, look at the crime statistics, look at the suicide numbers, and we can see this is a very unhealthy area to work in. We can all agree on that. It does more harm than good. So why do all these women that are being harmed in this line of work feel that that's the only line of work they have to go in to make money? And if you start to unravel that knot, you'll end back in the 1960s, early 70s with the early destruction of the home and telling, the government's objectifying women as chefs and babysitters rather than an integral core of the next generation, the foundation of education, love, and compassion for our next generations. Those kids learn so much from the parent that raises them. And now our kids are not parented at all. They're walked around with white gloves. Nobody's interacting. We're all terrified of what somebody might say if we interact. But we'll let our tax monies go to bounce our kids around and treat them, like missiles fixing to go off. And then we wonder why the missiles go off when they turn mid-20s. Well, it's because that's what we did. We basically just turned them into a powder keg of emotions waiting to occur because nobody taught them anything useful and they never got used to appropriate interaction with people in their community and their societies. They didn't learn the skills they needed to learn to live in the world. Yeah, Barb. It was all by design. I mean, too many things have occurred for it to be a coincidence, but I don't know. Women, it's like I told that lady across the road that was sassing me that day. I said, if you'd put half as much between your ears as you did between your legs, you'd not be having this argument with me right now, because you'd know how stupid you look. And she got terribly upset with me that day, but after she thought about it, she came back and said, you were right. I can get real sharp if I'm having an issue with you. I can get real sharp with my words, but I'll say it in a way that you have to think about it before you get mad at me. But, women need to, real power, real positive power comes from a very warm place within the human soul, right behind the human heart. And it is a warm, compassionate, loving, like earth-based, foundational, primal, positive thing. And when you found people that have that, you know it. And when you find people that lack it, you know it. And you will know it in 2 minutes of meeting them. And it's sad, but we all fall in one of those two categories right now. And the positive thing is that you can, when you become enlightened, you can change. You can say, oh, don't want to be on this team anymore. I want to become that core, good, heart-rich person. and you can change. But the sad thing is that we've all become so disenchanted with each other, we don't communicate about how to promote those healthy changes and how to get back to the integral parts of being a person and being a community, and the love that should be felt, and the rules that should be followed, the respect that should be maintained, but the love that should be felt, and the interaction that is required for us to really function and function well and raise positive, powerful young people to take the world in a better direction. You know, and I don't know, I just, you know, but I mean, you can look at all this and people say, oh, it just happened. It just happened. So there are Chinese police forces setting up bases in America. It just happened. Why didn't it just happen 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago? Now, don't get me wrong. I think there's been always some kind of seat of power for them over here. They've always found a way to manipulate our nation. They've always found a way to get information. Why is it not being hidden anymore? That's bold. That's brazen. You know, when people stop lying and just continue doing, but they've stopped lying, they don't care that they don't even care that you're, you know, clutching your pearls and worried. They just keep doing it. They don't even care to lie about why they're doing it anymore. That's because they know that they've got all the power they need, and that whatever you say doesn't amount to hill beans. Because they think they have the absolute power. And it's because most people in this nation are focused on power in such a mindset that it's not going to make any difference. It's not going to change. But if we were to get back in touch with how we function on a basic human level and how we interact in our energy components, that we change. When we meet more people, our energies change. And when we have a tight-knit community, our energy combines. And we really can change the way that we feel and project and behave just by being positive little batteries for each other. And they don't want that. That's why they're isolating everyone. That's why they're trying to create tribalism lines and demographic lines, and, you know, and keep subsecting us into smaller components to where we're isolated from each other. And if we would all just say, screw you, I'm going to be, you know, in the middle and really start to understand myself and my community, the power that we would come into as groups of positive people would be amazing. So I wish it would I wish it would happen. I wish people would link up again and love each other like they used to. So, but I need to shut up. I'm tired. Hi, Billy. You caught us at the tail end. Sorry. But that was our craft for tonight. So I'm done. If anybody wants to make one of these, please toss me a picture. If you make one, if you make a bigger one, if you go outlandishly like full tilt, please send us a picture. And I'll share it, and we'll show everybody your creations. You can send it to me by email. Denise has thrown that in here several times, or you can send it to me on Instagram at Izzby Waters, IZZBY Waters. But I'd love to see anything y'all create. I'd love to share it with everybody else. I would love to see somebody go huge and make like a giant one of these on a dowel with a base. It go like really super big. But it's a really cute craft. It's really easy to do with kids, but it's also really easy to dress up and do in a fancy schmancy way. I think I'm going to try to make a fancy one maybe here in a few days when I get to feeling better. I know it's so funny because I craft, but then I talk about like, I get really like deep. My husband's like, he's like, I'm sure after they've left, they feel like they've gone through like a whole semester of like a theology class. And I'm like, Oh, Barb, I always feel better when I'm popped on. If I'm able, I try to always come on because it makes me feel better. It makes me feel a lot better. Family circus. No, but being from Appalachia, I didn't catch a lot of the stuff that was either on TV or in cities. So that may be why. But I will try to pop back on tomorrow and finish. I'm going to try to finish up a couple things when David's here tomorrow. And I'll try to pop back on tomorrow night, and we will try to do something else. Maybe do a fabric version or start to tie a rag quilt Christmas tree. Do something. I just hope I continue to feel better each day and feel better tomorrow. But as long as I feel better, I'll be back tomorrow. I just wanted to pop on and tell you, I am kicking. My pancreas about got me, so I had to stay in bed and flush with fluids. And I'm super weak right now, but as soon as I get my strength back, we'll do more crafts and I won't be as pale and white and shaky. So, but I'm gonna go eat me some broth. So you eat something you don't have to chew. I'm gonna eat me some broth tonight. And if I do well with that tonight, I'll probably eat solids tomorrow. But I'm gonna eat some broth and push some more Powerade down my throat and see how I do and try to rest tonight. So, but I think I'm over the worst of it. I just need to slowly go back to eating super slowly this time because my pancreas was really grumpy and it kind of scared me. So, but I'm good, made it through it, knock on wood, and the next few days should see me improve quite a bit. So we'll see what we get toward this weekend. I'm wanting to show you at least like 3 completed things this weekend and starting on some of the other gnome ornaments and some of the other hanging ornaments, getting those done and underway so I can get that because I'm going to have a lot of those to do. And I'm going to try to put up my Christmas tree ASAP because I'm going to use it for storage for some of the cuter ones that I have listed on Etsy. So it's a priority to get the stupid Christmas tree put up because I'm going to need it to hang some of my ornaments that I have listed. So it's going to be, my Christmas tree is actually going to be the Etsy store. I told David, I was like, the whole house is just becoming an Etsy store. But it's okay. It's helping us out, so we can't fuss too much. But literally everything in my house is like, don't touch it, that's for sale. Don't touch it, that's on Etsy. Don't touch it. So when Lane and Kaylee come over, they're like, and I'm like, it's okay. I can always pull the ad if something breaks. But they're always so, like if they bring Che, they're always terrified he will wreck something that's on Etsy. Oh, electrolytes. Yeah, I have to take the Pedialyte is so thick that when I have pancreas issues, it makes me sick. It's like an oil slick, and it doesn't jive well with my gut. I don't know why, because a lot of people do really well with it. So I have to basically push 0 sugar Gatorade, and I have to take 2 types of stomach medicine. And I'm just trying, I just hope they never have to put me back on that Creon because that was so expensive, but I have to take 2 types of stomach medicine, and then I just have to be still so I don't throw up. Because Pedialyte, it sits so heavy, it makes me throw up. And I'm weird. Well, I've tried like some of the stuff that they have Granny on too. I went and bought some to see if it would work better with me, and it all feels super heavy when it hits my gut. And I don't know why, but every form of electrolyte feels like an oil slick in my gut. And I cannot tolerate any of them. If you have one that has really worked for you, let me know. But I've tried most of the ones that are at our local stores and that can be ordered, and they all make me sick. So I normally do really well until I can start adding in broth. And then if I hold the broth pretty good for like 12 hours, then I can go up. And so I'll eat yogurt the next day, and I'll stay with soft foods, and I might mash me some potatoes. And then in a few days, I'm back to eating smaller amounts. I just have to be very careful, very careful. So the longest I've gone without eating is 8 or 9 days. That was when I was in the hospital for 8 days, and I think I've been sick for a day and a half at home. So yeah, 9 days. And oh man, I was sick, but I lost a lot of weight that week. I lost a whole lot of weight. Oh yeah, boy, we have a lot in common. It's funny, but yeah, anytime that you think you have something that might help me, you're more than welcome to email me or toss it to me on Instagram if you're on Instagram. If I feel good, I don't mind to chit chat and toss stuff back and forth because I learn a lot from other people that have gone through similar issues. I just have a body that has a lot of paradoxical reactions, so I have to be careful. My body is basically Stuart from Mad TV. Look what I can do. That's what it does. That's what my body is. I just have learned to be like, okay, Stuart. Go on. I used to call my son Stuart. That just made me laugh. Those memories. But that's how my body is. So I just kind of have learned to just like let it have its little moment and then get it back on track. And so it just had its little moment. So I'm trying to get it back on track. But hoping that tomorrow's a better day for me. I got new rollers, those spongy rollers that my granny used to have. She used to curl my hair. I got those spongy rollers because I had like a emotional response to seeing them because they reminded me of my granny when she used to curl my hair I used to spend the night with her. And I bought some of those and I looked at David and I was like, I'm going to curl my hair one night and wake up and I'm going to have Shirley Temple curls. And he's like, oh God. And I'm like, I'm so excited. And he's like, you're excited over that? And I said, yeah, it makes me remember the things I used to do with Granny. And he's like, you're just going to end up with like a mess of frizz. And I'm like, I know, but it's, it's going through the actions again and remembering all that. And so I bought those little spongy curlers and I'm going to curl my hair the first day I feel like it. That's a big undertaking because I do have a lot of hair, even though I don't have super long hair. I have a lot of hair. So, that's going to be a big process. Yeah, my granny used to even rag curl my hairs. And I used to have the tightest little curls in the morning. I mean, they would spring back. And I mean, they were tight little curls. And I never could separate them and keep them pretty. I don't know what she put on me, but it kept them really separated and really pretty all day long. I can't do that. But I just had the biggest urge to roll my hair the other night. And when I saw those rollers, I thought, well, I'm buying those. So they were super cheap. So I bought them. And I got them in the mail, and I just looked at them and been like, I hope I feel better soon because I want to curl my hair. Yeah, well, I did lots of rag curls when I was little. I used rag curls on Haley a lot too when she was little, and it always made the prettiest curls, the tightest, prettiest curls. And she would go to school, and they would be like, "You got a perm?" And she's like, "No, my mama rag curled my hair." Well, she always had a lot of hair too, so that was a big undertaking. That was hours sometimes spent curling her hair. She got a lot of hair. It's still down to her butt. She's got a lot of hair. She loves long hair, and she's got a thick, long, straight hair. But I would curl it, and it would hold that curl for 2 or 3 days until we dunked her and scrubbed her again. And I'd be like, don't touch it. Just leave the curl. And I would put like conditioner spray on it and kind of re-zhuzh them the next day and send her back off to school and be like, still curly, go on. I loved rag curls. I love the rag curls. And I mean, they were tight. I wanted to look like Shirley Temple when I was a little girl. Shirley Temple was like my idol. I wanted to be Shirley Temple. And so I'd have Mama rag curl my hair. Or if she had the big curler out, I'd have her do the big spring coiled curls like she wore in A Little Princess. And I'd pull my hair back on the top and have the big coiled cigar curls. I love that. So I always wore like really odd hairstyles because I was watching old movies. And I wanted to look like the old movies. And so I'm sure my teachers all thought I was strange, but it's just the way I was raised. So I will eventually in the next couple of days, I'm feeling better when I pop up and I have curly hair. That means Elizabeth is back to full force and she had the energy to eat and curl her hair. Pippi Longstocking, oh yeah, that was on the tail end of I liked her horse. She had a Appaloosa, a leopard spotted Appaloosa, which had a lot of his spots drawn on. But hey, I'm not, not dissing. I love that animal. But I used to watch old movies like when Sean Austin was in Sean Austin. He was in the old school called Brat Patrol. Like those old movies are my favorite. Like Explorers, where River Phoenix and Ethan Hawke go up to space, meet the aliens. The Brat Patrol, the old Parent Trap with Haley Mills. That's who my daughter Haley. That's who she's named after, is Haley Mills. So the old Parent Trap, the old Shirley Temple movies, the old movies. I will still at Thanksgiving every year find Friendly Persuasion on YouTube and watch it because that's what would be on the television every Thanksgiving, and my family would always watch Friendly Persuasion with Gary Cooper. It's just great. And during Christmas, I always sit in and watch Sergeant York as well. I try to watch it in the holidays just because I'm in a better, more thankful place. And I watch it and I'm thankful for what he brought to this area, and he didn't have to dedicate his life to bringing education to our area, but he did. And so I always tried to kind of pay homage to him. Oh yeah, the original Parent Trap. None of the others have touched it. Like it's like the old Freaky Friday with Jodie Foster. No remake will ever touch it, ever. So, but yeah, I grew up watching all of those, and I would watch a lot of TV with Granny, and a lot of the Riflemen and all that stuff. So I grew up on old school TV, and that's what I enjoyed. And my favorite movie of all time is Megan Follows in the Anne of Green Gable movies. I can watch those over and over and over and over and over again. And that was my go-to movie. Being a young girl that got picked on for having red hair back in the day, that was my go-to movie, was Anne of Green Gables. I loved Anne of Green Gables. So I'm a weird conglomerate of old Hollywood, old Shirley Temple and Haley Mills and Pollyanna and all that stuff. But I also watched the music scene and was like a big death metal hard rock, but then I also fell in love with Queen. I was a very eclectic young girl. I was a very strangely put together young girl. But I'm super thankful that I was that way because it created who I am now. And I think I still pull from different sources to keep me well balanced. Yes. Gunsmoke, Bonanza, all that. I loved it. I still love The Rifleman. I will still sit down and watch The Rifleman with Granny to this day. I love The Rifleman. So I don't know what it is about that one. I think it's because he had a kid. And so I think I identified with him more in a parental role. So I love those old movies. They were great. Yeah, y'all need to sit down and watch Sergeant York. It's on YouTube for free. You can watch Sergeant Alvin C. York on YouTube for free. Gary Cooper plays Sergeant York. It's great. It will teach you all about my area. It's where I'm from. I am about 10, 15 minutes from Sergeant York's home place where I live. So it will explain a lot of where I'm from, our generational climb from where we were, and a lot of the mindset and a lot of the way I speak. You will understand more of me if you watch that movie. And if you all watch the movie and want to see the original Forbes store, I will take you down to Forbes one day and show you the Forbes store. They kept it kind of mostly original, so it's like the same floors and shelves that Sergeant York walked on and took stuff off of. I don't care to take you down there on a day I feel better, but go watch the movie and that will tell you a lot more about me. Too funny. They don't make movies like they used to, but okay, I really do need to shut up now. I'm starting to get super tired and super like woozy. I'm gonna have to go and get some sugar in me, and I might try to sip something carbonated, see what happens. I really want something fizzy, and normally by the time I want something fizzy, it means I'm getting better. So I knew today I felt a lot better. I'm just starting to finally get hungry, and it feels really good to get hungry. So I may go sip me something just a sip of something that fizzes to see how I deal with it, and then I'm going to go lay down. But everybody try this craft. Let me know if you try it. Show me what you create. Try different ways to go outside and pull leaves, dry them, and then use real leaves. Try to make one completely out of small pine cones. There's bunches. I made picture frames out of pine cones one year, and they were gorgeous. I had them for like 6 years, and I just kept putting new pictures in the frames, and they just kind of growed with the kids. And finally, I broke one after so many years, and I didn't want to try to glue it back together. It was getting kind of old, and I always wanted to make more, but I never got around to it. I may do that, but try to come up with different ways to do this in your world, and use reusable items and recycle some things that would otherwise end up in the landfill, and make it cute and share it with the group. And I will certainly put it on the community page if you share pictures of any of your creations. So get out there, try something, use what you have, don't spend money, use what you have and get creative. It's a great way to kind of get back in touch with yourself, see what you're capable of, and kind of get a boost because you created something. It's a nice boost. So I'm going to hope that I created a nap in my near future, and I'm going to put my tree on the TV cabinet. See if David even notices it when he comes home. He might. And then tomorrow we'll work on something else. I've got to get Clara's surprise just tweaked a little bit before I get it in the mail, and I'm just a little behind from being sick. But Clara, don't worry. It'll be on its way very soon. Everyone else, you have something in the mail. Denise, probably Friday afternoon, I will get your hair samples in the mail for the forensic stuff. So I hope they're able to use them and it helps. So let me know how that ends up. But we'll get everything cut and stuff over the next 2 days, and I'll get it in the mail to you. Well, Barb, definitely share stuff with us because I'd love to share it with everybody else. So if you make stuff, get me pictures, and I'll definitely share it with everyone else. And I think we're going to try to do a fabric tree tomorrow. It depends on how I want to strip stuff. If I want to cut triangles for a fabric tree, or if I want to rip for a rag cut. We'll see how much energy I have tomorrow. But I want to do a fabric tree tomorrow, And that's going to be my motivation to feel better. So hopefully back here tomorrow night, we'll do another craft, and I'll be getting some of this other stuff done as soon as David can hit it with the sander. And as soon as I feel like watering down that paint and hitting that one, I've got so close to being done. And then as I get them finished, I'll share them with you. But we're fixing to hit a good assembly line for Christmas. And everything that I make, you can make from things in your home. So watch me make it so that you get ideas, so that you can save yourself money. And I'm home making everything this year, even Christmas presents for the kids. So, and I will share those with you as we get closer to Christmas. Parts of them. I won't show you the finished thing until after the gifts have been received, but I'll show you what I'm putting into things so that you know kind of where I'm going. But you won't see the finished product until after it's been gifted. But I'll definitely share with you kind of what I'm using, my skills that I'm using to create these things. So come back tomorrow. We'll try Fabric Tree, see where we go, and have another big, huge discussion. Probably won't be as in depth tomorrow. If I feel better, I won't get straight with my thoughts much. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Positive thoughts before bed, positive thoughts when you wake up, and always send out love to other people, because I fully believe when you send it out to other people, it comes back tenfold to you. So make sure that you're being positive for somebody else, because the world's got too many negative and nanny goats in it. Be a positive person and create a beautiful, safe, emotional sanctuary for you and your friends. Let's get back to being a positive group of people again. We can do it. We just got to change our mindsets. That's all it is. All right, I'm going to go. I will see you tomorrow. Oscar's got to go potty, and I will try to get another video up on David's page tomorrow if I have time. He is also learning to edit, so be patient as he films. We try to both kind of deal with it. But go over to D&L Trapping with Trapper Dave and sub to David's page. Watch his trapping videos. He is getting a flair for the editing bug. I think it may have caught him more than it catches me, but we have the same sense of humor, so he'll probably like it. So go give him a like and a follow. Send people to his page. Share the hound out of it. Send people to the Etsy page. We're going to be loading everything up after this last sale, but we will be sprinkling some of the items for Christmas presents onto the store as David gets everything cut out and finished. So stay in touch. We're going to be doing a lot over the next few weeks. I'm going to go eat some dinner and rest so I can be back here tomorrow. I love you guys. Bye. Well, you know when I'm done, huh?